Identical faces, different lives, twin brothers. The elder wears a suit and tie, surrounded by beautiful women, clearly a business elite. The younger, however, wears construction gear, surrounded by men pouring concrete in the sweltering heat. Buried in the concrete are over a dozen men in North Korean military uniforms. The elder brother calls, asking to meet up. Just then, someone crashes through the door and falls. Another man, shirtless, rushes out chasing him. "I'll kill all you South Korean bastards," the man says with a grin. Seeing this, the younger brother remains unusually calm, asking about the injured man's condition casually. Then, he slowly removes his coat. His true identity, Baek-soo, captain of the South Korean Special Task Force against North Korean spies. "I hope you can last a few more seconds against me." Before he finishes speaking, the attacker swings a knife at him. Baek-soo simply leans back and dodges with ease, then counters with an elbow strike to the chest. As the man reels, Baek throws a heavy punch. One punch slams him into the ground. Seeing the man passed out cold, Baek-soo puts his jacket back on and instructs, "Get rid of this one too." He adds he's stepping. Of all people, he had to provoke our leader, huh? His subordinate mumbles. Baek was headed to meet his brother, but gets stopped at the entrance. He's told the venue is closed today for a private event. At that moment, someone walks over, greeting Baek warmly. He tells the guard Baek is his younger brother. Hearing that, the guard bows and apologizes. Baek doesn't mind and heads into the restaurant. His brother praises the guard for prioritizing safety. Meanwhile, Baek's squad is having a barbecue. Manhwa jokes that their leader dines in luxury, while they eat grilled meat in the wild. Everyone bursts into laughter. Suddenly, several cars pull up. Seeing who gets out, one man quickly salutes. He invites Director Zhang to join them for a drink. Director Zhang asks where Baek-soo is. Hearing he's out on personal business, he mumbles. Things aren't going smoothly, then reaches into his shirt. A gunshot rings out. He shoots the man in the head. The shooter is Director Zhang. Dozens of armed men step out of the vehicles, all ready for combat. It happens so fast, no one could react. "You've all worked hard." Zhang cocks his pistol. Back at the restaurant, the brothers are eating. The elder invites him to join his business. Stop working such low-paying jobs. He doesn't understand why. As a soldier, Baek wears construction gear. Baek gives a half-hearted reply to the offer. "I'll think about it." Just then, his phone rings. He goes to the restroom to answer. It's Manhwa calling. The voice on the other end is faint. Baek urgently asks what happened. Manhwa jokes, saying he ate too much, but Baek doesn't buy it. Manhwa's tone turns grim. He says he'll never get to fight alongside Baek again. The whole squad's been wiped out. He reveals Director Zhang betrayed them. Then, the line goes silent. No matter how much Baek calls, there's no reply. Just then, an uninvited guest enters the restaurant. The doorman says they're closed today. Before he finishes, the man flashes behind him like a ghost, trailing a flash of white light. His dagger is already stained with blood. Blood gushes from the doorman's neck. Meanwhile, the brother is drunkenly resting on the table. Hearing the noise, he thinks Baek returned, but looks up to see masked men in front of him. Their daggers shimmer coldly under the lights. Fearing for his brother's safety, Baek rushes back, but a group is already waiting in the hallway. Target confirmed. With that, they charge at him. Baek grabs a handle passed to him. He elbows one attacker in the chest, swiping past the dagger. He slashes the man's throat open. Another attacker comes forward. Baek rushes him as well, grabs his thigh, and throws him backward. Seeing Baek's glowing dagger, the man's face shows fear at last. Baek doesn't hesitate. He slashes the man's tendon. In one round, he kills two, momentarily intimidating the rest. Baek tosses off his coat, revealing tactical gear. "Keep going." The group shouted and charged together. Baek-soo's dagger clashed with the enemy's. Then she redirected it upward, slashing the enemy's throat. The rest attacked. The scene instantly turned into a blur of blades. One of them took advantage of an opening and stabbed her arm. Seizing the chance, another moved in behind her. Meanwhile, at the construction site, a subordinate reported to Section Chief Zhang that the site was secured. The newly formed Special Forces Unit 1 had been dispatched to eliminate Baek-soo. But one unit may not be enough. Chief Zhang exhaled a puff of smoke. Another unit needs to be sent to handle her. Make sure there are no survivors or witnesses. After finishing off her enemies, Baek-soo became deeply worried for her brother. At that moment, her brother's glasses were lying on a blood-soaked table. His eyes were bloodshot, filled with killing intent. "Why did you have to ruin our pleasant dinner?" He held a dagger against the enemy's neck. Turns out his public identity was a TF Financial Group agent. But in reality, he was Baek Dojin, boss of the Taesin Syndicate. He had wondered why gangs used that device. Only after hearing the full message did he understand that Baek-soo was to be eliminated on sight. It wasn't about him. The real target was his brother. "If you dare target my brother, even the King of Heaven won't save you." On the surface, the brother was with TF Financial, but he was actually the boss of Korea's largest gang, Taesin Syndicate. The younger brother appeared to be a construction worker, but was really the commander of Korea's special ops, specializing in countering North Korean spies, but was betrayed during the last mission and is now being hunted after defeating nearby enemies. Bai Ingshu grew even more concerned for her brother. Are all these people your enemies? He pointed at the bodies sprawled on the ground. The two siblings sat in the car, finally revealing their true identities to each other. Both found it unbelievable. Bai Ingshu told her brother not to get involved with her. The assassins weren't ordinary people. So your big bad gangster brother is scared, huh? Want me to turn you into the police? Baek Dojin said sarcastically. Bai Ingshu told him not to joke. Baek Dojin became serious. Remember, I'm your brother. I'll clear every danger in your way. Then he looked out the window and said they had arrived. Bai Ingshu followed him out of the car and looked ahead. A group in black suits were setting up a funeral hall. Bai Ingshu was confused. Shiya came over and told Baek Dojin it'd be ready in 2 hours. Baek Dojin said he was holding a funeral for Bai Ingshu. Only his death would allow things to proceed safely. This was the cicada sloughing its shell strategy from Sun Tzu. Bai Ingshu doubted if the enemy would believe it. Baek Dojin said that didn't matter. As the brother of Taesin's boss, his funeral would draw condolences from all factions, and those people would naturally become witnesses. Suddenly, a car drove into the area. Inside was Section Chief Zhang, holding a file on Baek Dojin. He had just learned Bai Ingshu had a gangster twin brother. A Taesan underling stepped forward to chase him off. Chief Zhang ignored him and told someone in the back seat, even if I have to open the coffin, I'll confirm if Bai Ingshu is really dead. Several men silently straightened their suits and got out. A Taesan thug arrogantly glared at the rude newcomers. Get lost now. This is Taesan's turf. Seeing no response, he reached out to grab their cap. Get lost. A single punch knocked him out cold. Other underlings rushed and shouting. The two men beside the guy in the baseball cap moved, engaging the rushing thugs in combat. One thug was chopped in the neck and knocked out. Another was taken from behind and locked in a chokehold. He also passed out within seconds. These attackers were known as the Hanmu, elite berserk operatives. The commotion caught Baek Dojin's attention. Beside him, Kim Gwanwoong removed his jacket and walked down. He told the intruders only those delivering condolences may enter. Before he could finish, the man in the cap punched him hard in the face. But Kim Gwanwoong didn't react at all. He just stared coldly. Then he grabbed the guy's face with his left hand. No matter how much he struggled, it was useless. Gradually, he lost strength and fell to his knees. Kim Gwanwoong gently lifted his left arm. A crisp crack echoed through the air. He had crushed the man's jaw with nothing but grip strength. The remaining two attackers broke into a cold sweat, shocked at what they had just witnessed. Then, shouting, he charged at Jin Guanxiong. Jin Guanxiong sidestepped between the two. Once again, he grabbed one by the cheeks. The other hurriedly rushed to help. A powerful punch slammed into Jin Guanxiong's face. But to Jin Guanxiong, it was like a tickle. He easily withstood the opponent's flurry of attacks, raising an iron fist in return. He smashed the man into the ground with one punch. The one whose cheeks were grabbed saw things turning bad. He seized Jin Guanxiong's arm with both hands, leaping to wrap his legs around his neck. He tried to choke Jin Guanxiong with a flying armbar, but in the face of absolute strength, it was all futile. Jin Guanxiong lifted him with one arm, then slammed him down onto the man on the ground. Carefully trained warriors were taken down just like that. Zhang Kachang in the car couldn't believe his eyes. Even a thug gang has someone this. He adjusted his mood and got out of the car, immediately putting on a smile. He approached, saying it was a misunderstanding. He introduced himself as Bai Ingshu's superior, handing over his business card. Jin Guanxiong looked at him coldly, detecting no lies. It wasn't until Bai Daojin spoke up that he invited Zhang Kachang inside. Looking at Bai Ingshu's photo in the memorial hall, Zhang Kachang couldn't confirm if he was truly dead, nor did he know how much Bai Daojin, his brother, knew. Then Bai Daojin pulled out a dagger, looking at a face identical to Bai Ingshu's. Zhang Kachang was startled. I want to talk to you. The brother held a memorial for his younger sibling, showing not a trace of sadness, even opening a bottle of red wine to celebrate, because this was all a ploy to shed the cicada's shell. If the one who framed his brother didn't show up, they couldn't confirm if he was truly dead. But if that person came, they could confront him about who was behind it. Bai Daojin brandished the dagger, asking if Zhang Kachang recognized it. Seeing him silent, he explained, this dagger was taken from his brother's body. If Zhang Kachang's answer didn't satisfy him, he wouldn't mind plunging the dagger into him. Then Bai Daojin asked who killed his brother. Hearing this, Zhang Kachang wondered to himself, could Bai Ingshu really be dead? To calm the furious Bai Daojin, Zhang Kachang lied, saying Bai Ingshu died. The details couldn't be disclosed, but Bai Daojin threw a heavy punch, smashing his face. causing blood to pour from his nose and mouth. You talk too much nonsense. Did you kill my brother? Brandishing the dagger, he lunged at Zhang Keqiang. At the critical moment, Zhang Keqiang reached into his pocket. Xiaoya suddenly stopped by Dao Jin. Jin Guanxiong restrained the eager Zhang Keqiang, telling him to leave first. Bai Daojin cursed and prepared to charge again, but Xiaoya held him back tightly. Zhang Keqiang turned back with an icy glare. Who killed my brother, you bastard? Bai Daojin mimicked his earlier performance, asking Bai Yingxiu how his acting was. Xiaoya said, aside from the tattoo and hair, everything else was identical. Bai Yingxiu knew his brother did this to throw off suspicion, but it wasn't a long-term solution. He didn't want to drag his brother into this. Then let them come. Let's see if the Taishan gang's brats can handle it. But you can't hide here forever. Thinking this, Bai Yingxiu grabbed his backpack to leave, then asked Bai Daojin about the funeral, because he didn't want to escalate things for now. The matter needed careful planning. Bai Yingxiu felt conflicted. Am I supposed to stay here and be a thug? Bai Daojin didn't care. Why not? We're just doing dirty work for others anyway. Bai Yingxiu slapped his hand away and walked off. Bai Daojin sighed in frustration. Though he has a face as handsome as mine, why isn't his brain half as smart? Then he ordered Jin Guanxiong to take men and follow him. Bai Yingxiu asked Jin Guanxiong how long he'd keep following. Jin Guanxiong said he was just following orders. The men behind him now lived only for him. Their conversation was observed by someone in the shadows. Meanwhile, Zhang Keqiang was on the phone, issuing orders to continue surveillance. After hanging up, he recalled the funeral, whereby Daojin seemed to know he'd sent someone to kill Bai Yingxiu. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind him. A low voice warned him not to turn around. Chief Zhang's heart raced with alarm. Could Bai Daojin's people have arrived so quickly? Then, the person's arm, wrapped around his. A sudden dad eased his tension. It was his mischievous daughter, playing a prank. She started complaining the plane was too slow. Chief Zhang teased he'd make the plane faster next time. His daughter quickly praised his awesomeness, worthy of the Special Service Bureau, then asked if he was good at fighting. Chief Zhang, with a gentle smile, said he was just a desk worker. Inside the villa, Bai Daojin said he was going to buy cigarettes. Xiaoya said Jin Guanxiong had taken everyone out, urging her to stay home. Bai Daojin insisted it was just a walk, for people rode the elevator down. Suddenly, Bai Daojin turned to the person behind him. Hey, Big Head, do you read Yo-Yo comics? Big Head eagerly said yes, adding he'd just joined the fan group. But Bai Daojin's face darkened. Is that so? I've never seen you in the group. Who are you really? Big Head mumbled. He didn't understand, but his dagger slashed toward Bai Daojin. Bai Daojin and Xiaoya stood back to back. By grumbling, he forgot his weapon. The other two circled like wolves, ready to strike. Bai Daojin pulled a dagger from Xiaoya's skirt. One attacker lunged with a knife, but Bai Daojin slashed, pushing him back, then sliced across his abdomen. A metallic clang rang out. The guy was wearing a bulletproof vest under his suit. Then I'll aim for the neck and wrists. Seizing an opening, Bai Daojin shoved the man aside. On the other side, Xiaoya was in trouble. The enemy seemed to target Xiaoya to distract. Big Head took a hit meant for Xiaoya. Joking it had been ages since he was last stabbed, the attacker gripped the knife, trying to widen the wound. Bai Daojin slashed the man's wrist. Another lunged at Xiaoya. But Bai Daojin's blade knocked his dagger away. The dagger landed near the other attacker. He reached for it, but Xiaoya kicked it away. Bai Daojin faced the enemy charging again, knocking his dagger flying once more. Bai Daojin thrust his blade toward the man, who drew another dagger from behind for a sneak attack. Bai Daojin grabbed it with his left hand, twisting the man's arm, driving both daggers into his shoulder. The elevator reached the ground floor. Bai Daojin grumbled about the guards slacking, letting weirdos into the elevator. He asked a lackey outside for a cigarette. The lackey pulled a dagger and stabbed him. Damn it, I asked for a smoke, and you give me a dagger? Bai Daojin grabbed the man's face, ripping it off, revealing another face with a sinister grin. This man was the emperor of H country's underworld, commanding tens of thousands. Yet he was ambushed by a lackey. The attacker wore a human skin mask to infiltrate. Bai Daojin forced him back with a slash. The man's razor-sharp claw knife danced in his hand. He smirked wickedly at his prey. Bai Daojin ordered his men to take Xiaoya away, asking if the attacker was sent by Chief Zhang. The mysterious man was a member of the Special Operations Team's assassination unit, known only as Ghost. I'll tell you when you're dead. With that, he charged at Bai Daojin. The two clashed in combat. Ghost asked about Bai Yingxiu's whereabouts. At that moment, Bai Yingxiu and Jin Guanxiong walked the streets, already aware of someone tailing them. They turned into an alley at a corner. The tracker hurried to follow, only to meet an iron fist head-on, blasted 10 meters back. Though he blocked his head with his arms were clearly broken from the blow. Bai Yingxiu asked if he was one of Chief Zhang's men. The man grinned at Bai Yingxiu. I knew you wouldn't die so easily. Bai Yingxiu's heart jolted at the voice. The mysterious man removed his hoodie, revealing an Hao, presumed long dead. The tension dissolved, and Hao, pointing at his broken arm, berated Jin Guanxiu. Then, a hand rested on his shoulder. Bai Yingjiu, guilt-ridden, said he shouldn't have left that day. Next time you get good food, bring me along. And Hao said with a forced, light-hearted laugh. Then Jin Guanxiu took a call, his face contorting with rage. Could shake the usually. Elsewhere, the fight between the two escalated into a brutal melee. Bai Daojin attacked while mocking Ghost's meager skills. Knowing his abdominal wound couldn't wait, Ghost's figure began to blur before his eyes. Bai Daojin thrust his knife at Ghost, but a hair-thin steel wire flashed through the air, wrapping around Bai Daojin's arm, halting him. Then an upward slash grazed Bai Daojin. Where's Bai Yingjiu? Ghost demanded again, his voice ice-cold. Suddenly, Bai Daojin cut off his own long into a ponytail. You're such an idiot. I am Bai Yingjiu. The shocking claim threw Ghost off balance. Seizing the moment, Bai Daojin launched an attack, gaining the upper hand. Moments later, Ghost regained his composure. The real Bai Yingjiu wouldn't be this ruthless. The steel wire from his claw knife ensnared Bai Daojin again. But Bai Daojin, risking a severed arm, countered fiercely, badly wounding Ghost. Ghost repeated obsessively, you can't be Bai Yingjiu. Struggling to his feet, he spat, you're just a thug. His mind unraveling, Ghost took. Looking at Bai Daojin again, he panicked. The attack stance was identical to Bai Yingjiu's. Could this man truly be Bai Yingjiu? In the organization, Bai Yingjiu was a mythical figure. Ghost, his mind in chaos, left openings everywhere. Bai Daojin grabbed the claw knife barehanded and stabbed Ghost. Repeated injuries made Ghost abandon resistance. His face was a mask of terror. This man before him was the killing god, Bai Yingjiu. As Bai Daojin's dagger descended, all that remained was Ghost's horrified scream. But Bai Daojin's blade grazed his cheek, embedding in the floor. He collapsed, limp, onto Ghost. Minutes later, Bai Yingjiu arrived, finding only a blood-soaked Bai Daojin. Trembling, he lifted his brother, while Ghost frantically flipping through a notebook. Bloodied fingers scratched an X over Bai Yingjiu's photo. Bai Yingjiu's face twisted into a lion's roar of rage, cradling his lifeless brother. Taishan boss Bai Daojin was assassinated, though the news was suppressed. His prolonged absence sparked rampant speculation. Rival factions began to stir. The urgent task was choosing a new boss. Xiuya suggested Jin Guanxiu take over. He refused outright. Without Bai Daojin, Taishan isn't Taishan. No one could replace him. Meanwhile, Bai Yingjiu investigated his brother's death. The methods pointing to Hezhong's special service operatives, disguised as various professions for missions. He vowed to find and kill the culprit himself. In another city, atop a building, a man leisurely peeled an apple. He was Jin Tai, T1's boss, long tired of this small city. A real man should stir waves in Hanxiang's vast sea. I hear you know some interesting news. Jin Tai grinned at a man dangling off the balcony. The man claimed he didn't understand. Wrong answer. Jin Tai cut one rope without hesitation. The man screamed, saying Taishan was attacked by a mysterious force, and Bai Daojin was killed. Jin Tai smiled, got it, then slashed the remaining ropes. He ordered his men to call a full meeting. Today, I'll devour Taishan. Bai Yingjiu, following leads, reached a market, stopping at a butcher shop's entrance. This was one of Hezhong's special service hideouts. Bai Yingjiu stayed on high alert. He tugged the door, it was unlocked, but the scene inside shocked him. 4 or 5 corpses lay in pools of blood. Only a bald man clung to faint breaths. Seeing Bai Yingjiu, he rasped, stumbling. No need to point a knife at me. I'm as good as dead. Bai Yingjiu demanded to know what happened. The bald man said they were ordered to gather, but a heavily armed group ambushed them. He urged Bai Yingjiu to flee. This mess is too big. No single man can take it on. With those words, the bald man slumped, lifeless. Meanwhile, Hao's lead on another hideout revealed the same carnage. Who was pulling the strings? Bai Yingjiu's mind swirled with questions. At that moment, Jin Tai led his men to assault Taishan's headquarters, scoffing that Taishan, one of Hanxiang's 4 major factions, was nothing special. Across from him, Jin Guanxiu glared with murderous intent. Jin Guanxiu told Jin Tai, guys like you who charge in, don't last long. Jin Tai sneered coldly. Looks like talking won't cut it. He and his men encircled Jin Guanxiu. Jin Guanxiu let out a long breath. I'm done wasting words. Come at me, all of you. Then Bai Yingjiu, head lowered, parted the crowd, approaching Jin Guanxiu. He said he wanted to avenge his brother and needed Taishan's strength. So he asked Jin Guanxiu to hand over Taishan. Jin Tai, annoyed by their whispering, stomped over, threatening Bai Yingjiu to scram. Bai Yingjiu didn't respond. just smashed a fist into Jin Tai's nose. Jin Tai, about to explode, froze upon seeing Bai Ingio's face, mistaking him for Bai Daojin. His lackeys, hearing Bai Daojin's fearsome name, hesitated, but Jin Tai roared to take down even Bai Daojin. Charging forward reluctantly, Bai Ingio tore through them like a tiger among sheep, dispatching them in seconds. Jin Tai ordered his men to swarm, vowing to swallow Taishan today, as they rushed Bai Ingio again. His eyes blazed with killing intent. In the crowd, his attack. Jin Tai, burning with rage, tried to sneak attack from behind, but Bai Ingio spun, knocking his weapon away. Jin Tai knew his plan was finished. This man stood like an unyielding storm, impossible to overcome. Jin Tai's fighting spirit crumbled. He called his men to retreat. Taishan's members, seeing their boss return, cheered. Jin Guanxiong felt as if Bai Daojin had come back. But taking over Taishan required one final test. The Hanseong Four Factions summit in a month. A woman smirked, saying she heard a juicy rumor. Bai Daojin was dead. Her eyes gleamed with malice. Then Taishan has no reason to exist. The other two at the table nodded in agreement. Footsteps echoed outside. Bai Ingio entered with Jin Guanxiong and Hao. Seems everyone's real concerned about me. Jin Guanxiong's condition for handing over Taishan was clear. Bai Ingio must become Bai Daojin. The younger brother would replace the elder as Taishan's boss. His brother's loyal lieutenant and lover didn't just allow it. They poured everything into helping him. Though twins with identical looks, he had to mimic Bai Daojin's, like how he held a knife. Bai Daojin favored. Repeated line, likely error like how he held a knife. Bai Daojin liked resting his thumb on the blade's spine. Such details might escape outsiders, but against familiar rivals, caution was key, especially at the upcoming summit. The summit was a meeting of Hanseong's 5 major crime syndicates, ostensibly to avoid conflict and seek cooperation, but secretly plotting to devour each other. Shoya didn't understand why Bai Ingio risked this. Bai Ingio said it wasn't just for revenge, it was for his brother and himself. He needed Taishan's power, and aimed to unite the entire underworld. At a construction site, Bureau Chief Zhao Ritian praised Chief Zhang's efficiency, noting shifts in North Korean diplomacy. Politicians wanted to bury past dirty deeds. Chief Zhang, for the greater good, had buried his own former subordinates here. Truly, Zhao said, clapping sarcastically. Chief Zhang's face darkened at the mockery. Zhao's tone shifted, demanding why Zhang struggled to handle a few punks. Cleaning up his mess cost immense manpower and money. Zhang's request for Zhao to deal with Taishan was absurd. Taishan was still the head of the 5 Factions Alliance. Zhao wanted no trouble. Then Chief Zhang ripped off Zhao's badge, saying he only needed Zhao's authority. If he refused, plenty of people want to be Chief Fobol's man. Seeing Zhang Kachang's rudeness, Zhao Ritian's bodyguard stepped forward and grabbed his. Zhao Ritian mocked him for lacking manners, ordering him to crawl back like a dog to retrieve the badge. But Zhang Kachang swept his leg, knocking the burly bodyguard to the ground. That wasn't enough. He stomped on the bodyguard's head. The sudden turn of events startled Zhao Ritian. When he saw the gun pointed at him, he nearly wet himself. Want to be buried here too? Zhang Kachang's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Terrified, Zhao Ritian dropped to his knees, begging for mercy, saying he'd find a way to deal with the Taishan gang. He knows people who can help. Hearing this, Zhang Kachang holstered his gun, saying he'd be watching how things unfold. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, the heads of major organizations had gathered. Lu Baiyan of the Giant Wolf Gang, said Bai Daojin, was stabbed to death, then gloated, saying he didn't deserve to be here. Han Chumin, head of HHS, reminded him not to get worked up over Bai Daojin. Lu Baiyan said a cocky guy like Bai Daojin deserved to be stabbed. Che Zhenshu of Tianxiong Trading teased if he was the one who sent the killer. Lu Baiyan was left speechless. Li Shengmi of Iha Investments told everyone to stop arguing. The meeting was to resolve conflicts. This irritated Lu Baiyan, who snapped that everyone, man or dog, was barking, acting like there's somebody. At that moment, Hao strutted in, saying the atmosphere was deathly dull. No one recognized him and was about to lash out when Bai Ingxiu calmly walked in. His sudden appearance shocked everyone. On the way, Bai Ingxiu had studied everyone's profiles, knowing exactly who was friend or foe. Now he'd handle things in Bai Daojin's style. Che Zhenshu said even his hair was unrecognizable. Bai Ingxiu smirked, saying he had to show off in front of the ladies. How didn't I know I was stabbed to death? Your brain must be as big as my dog Ahas. That one line left Lu Baiyan speechless. Han Chumin said she heard about the funeral incident. Others were curious about what happened. Bai Ingxiu said there were too many rumors out there. He came today to ask one question. Do I, Bai Daojin, have the right to sit here? Since you're so concerned about me, why don't you have the guts to face me at the Taishan gang? Then he stabbed a dagger into the table. Who are you to talk about the Taishan gang? Bai Yingxiu's aggressive aura intimidated everyone. I, Bai Daojin, am announcing one thing. Starting today, the Taishan gang is withdrawing from the alliance. Then they drove off. Qin Guanxiong said his words offended everyone. Suddenly, a car sped toward them. Qin Guanxiong swerved sharply, narrowly avoiding it. And Hao was about to curse when he realized they were surrounded by 3 cars. Lu Bian stepped out of one. How dare he speak so arrogantly at the meeting? He threw a punch, shattering the car window. The glass broke, but Bai Daojin didn't flinch. His eyes, staring at Lu Bian, were filled with murderous intent. Today, I'll swallow the Taishan gang. Bai Daojin was arrogant when he led the Taishan gang. And now his brother, taking his place, is even more reckless. Announcing withdrawal from the alliance in front of the bosses directly disrupted the battle. Jin Guanxiong didn't understand Bai Yingxiu's intentions, but Bai Yingxiu said something shocking. At the meeting, someone asked about the funeral incident. Only he and Zhang Keqiang knew the details. There must be a traitor in the alliance colluding with Zhang Keqiang. Jin Guanxiong and Hao suddenly understood. They asked what Bai Yingxiu planned to do. Bai Yingxiu said there was no need to do anything deliberate. If there's a rat, just set some bait, and the rat will come out on its own. Then their car was stopped by Lu Bian's pursuit. He arrogantly told Bai Yingxiu he'd swallow the Taishan gang today. Lu Bian is a hot-tempered guy, always clashing with the Taishan gang. Could he be the rat? Before Bai Yingxiu could speak, and Hao lost his temper, unleashing a torrent of insults. Lu Bian gave him a disdainful glance, mocking Hao's pink clothes and earrings as effeminate. And Hao didn't hold back, calling her a brainless fool. Furious, Lu Bian swung a punch at Hao, but Hao easily caught it. That soft punch could scare anyone to death. Lu Bian scoffed angrily and lit the paper fire. Just then, several more cars arrived. The person stepping out was Li Shengmin, master of the 9 blades. Since young master Shengmin has spoken, I'll give you some face. Lu Bian said sarcastically. The 9 blades rarely show up these days, so he never took Li Shengmin seriously. Suddenly, a large hand landed on his shoulder. You've grown a lot. Not that little brat who used to cry over a scratch anymore. A white-haired uncle said with a grin. Hao asked Kim Guanwong who that uncle was. Kim told him not to be fooled by Yihe's decline. They used to be the top syndicate in Seoul, and the ones who built that empire were the 9 blades, 9 core. Seeing Lu Bian's men so tense confirmed it. This guy was no joke. He was the 2nd blade of the 9 blades, Choi Chunho. Even Lu Bian was wary of him. He didn't expect him to return to the underworld. Kim Guanwong respectfully stepped forward to greet him. It seemed they were quite familiar. Then Li Shengmin said he wanted to talk to Bai Yingxiu. Lu Bian cursed and walked off. Li Shengmin invited Bai Yingxiu to ride in the same car. Kim Guanwong, but Bai waved it off, saying there was no need. In the car, Li asked if he really was leaving the coalition. That would disrupt the balance and checks between groups. Bai Yingxiu tried to gauge his true motive. Then the car stopped at a port. I need power, so the Taisen syndicate will submit to us, Li Shengmin said solemnly. Bai glanced at the group of unexpected guests outside the window. Lu Bian's fists speak louder than his mouth. Meanwhile, Choi Chunho looked at broken glass and said, then suddenly offered Kim Guanwong a seat in Ego. He'd even reserve a spot for him in the 9 blades. Kim declined without hesitation. If Taisen collapses today, would you still stand firm? Elsewhere, Bai Yingxiu was now surrounded by the 9 blades. I know you're strong, so I'll go all out. Li Shengmin said softly. Bai rubbed his face with both hands. He already knew who the rat was. He told Hao to keep an eye on Li Shengmin. A thug nearby tried to act up at those words, but Hao knocked him out with a single chop. Damn it, don't bark like a dog. Bai told Hao he'd be right back. Give me 1 minute to finish this. Meanwhile, Lu Bian was confused. He thought he had Taisen in the bag today. Didn't expect Li Shengmin to bring out the 9 blades. His lackey asked what's so scary about them. We've got numbers. Just fight together. Lu Bian slapped him hard on the head. Damn it, you think you're tough? You have no idea how terrifying the 9 blades are. Just 3 of them once wiped out an entire gang. And now the invincible guy he bragged about was knocked flying and pinned to the ground, beaten brutally. The 9 blades. I'll break them all. These 9 elders were the fearsome 9 blades. Yihe's peak era was thanks to them. But after the old leader died and they retreated, Yihe began to fade. Young Master Li Shengmin may seem polite on the outside, but he's full of ambition underneath. That's why he allied with Zhao Ritian. Zhao told him Taisen was already under top-level scrutiny. Now was the best chance to wipe them out. You don't think Yihe is my only option, right? Seeing him hesitate, Zhao tried to persuade further. To achieve greatness, one must be ruthless. Li Shengmin stopped hesitating. His mind was made up. He summoned the 9 blades to eliminate Bai Yingxiu. Didn't expect that the moment they met, Bai sent the bald one flying with a punch, then pounded him mercilessly on the ground. You think you can kill me or crush Taisen? Whether it's on orders or pride, you've all misjudged. Because today, I'll slaughter you all. By Inshio issued a death warning. A flying knife grazed his cheek. Our boss told me to keep an eye on you, Anhao said with a smile, flipping the blade in his hand. The bald guy who just got beat took off his glasses and said calmly, in another 10 years, he might actually get taken down. The others nearby weren't worried. Instead, they joked they hadn't seen him get beaten in years. The bald man asked indignantly, you're all just gonna watch me get beat up? Just then, the mustache guy shot a punch at Baekingsu. Baek raised his arm just in time to block. The red-haired man followed up with a punch. Baek dodged it, but his collar was grabbed. The redhead lifted and slammed him to the ground before Baek could react. Big Face raised a foot to kick his head. Baek had to raise his arms again to block. Then Horseface's heavy punch came in fast. Baek quickly got up and retreated, but the bald man attacked from behind again. These guys weren't just strong, they were perfectly coordinated. All right then, one at a time. The bald guy was sent flying, but the mustached one steadied him. He grabbed Baek's sleeve, twisted it behind his head. Baek was immobilized, taking a heavy blow from the bald man. Their teamwork was so slick that even Anhao praised it. Lee Sungmin thought Anhao wanted to help, and told him helping wouldn't change the outcome. But Anhao just laughed. Help? Help who? If I don't step in, those old guys are gonna die. You have no idea who you've messed with. Meanwhile, Kim Gwanwon was thrown against the windshield. Give it up already. Our old friendship ends here. The white-haired elder adjusted his sleeves. Back at Horseface's group, Baek began fighting back. But their coordinated attacks still posed a challenge. Two of them tried surrounding him again, only to be swept down by Anhao. You trying to die too? The two glared at Anhao. But he told them they should be thankful he stepped in. Just then, the mustache guy's punch came for Baek's face. A cracking noise echoed through the room. No one knew what just happened. Then they saw the mustached man's arm dislocated. The bald guy noticed something was wrong, but it was too late. The redhead raised his leg to kick Baek again. Another series of cracking sounds echoed. This was a move director Zhang taught Baek against tough or resilient enemies. You dislocate their joints with technique. Even the strongest will lose their fighting power instantly. Now the red-haired man was writhing on the floor, holding his leg. The bald man muttered, he's a real monster. Lee Sungmin also felt something was wrong. He recalled Zhao Ritian's warning that Baek's younger brother was an assassin. It all started to click. Then the bald man's arm got dislocated too. Baek struck him with a fierce punch. A loud shout halted him. Lee Sungmin said he wanted to talk. Because I know who you really are. Even the famed Nine Blades were defeated by you. He realized if this continued, the damage would be worse. So he quickly stopped the fight and asked to negotiate. Baek's behavior earlier and his fighting style now convinced him that this wasn't Baek douging. Baek smacked his hand away. Does it matter? I'll just kill all of you anyway. Lee Sungmin, undeterred, offered a better proposal. Anhao's side also paused their fight when they saw them talking. Lee Sungmin admitted he was acting on orders to target Baek. He had documents with everything Baek wanted to know. He was willing to hand them over. In exchange, Tae-san would ally with Il-Heek. Lee Sungmin was a bit bitter. Originally he planned to crush Tae-san completely, but even the Nine Blades couldn't stop Baek Ingsu. Still, an alliance could be a win-win. He figured Baek wouldn't refuse, but Baek wasn't buying it. If your bargaining chip is this guy, why not just destroy Il-Heek and take the documents myself? Fei Qianhao mocked Baek for being arrogant. A brat who doesn't know his place. Kim Gwanwon also tried stopping Baek, saying this was a chance to build trust with Il-Heek. Baek cut him off sharply, calling Il-Heek nothing but a group of delusional fools. Can you trust people who killed my friends and brother? He warned Kim not to speak further. Anhao stepped in to cool them down. Lee Sungmin offered to let Baek read the documents first, but Baek didn't trust someone who betrayed allies so easily. Lee Sungmin said the documents had no backup. He moved toward the nearby furnace. What's there to talk about then? Let's just fight. His actions completely enraged Baek Ingsu. Kim Gwanwon quickly shouted for them to stop. Lee Sungmin's group looked tense and alert. If you want an alliance, it'll be on my terms. What Baek Ingsu said next shocked everyone. He demanded that Lee Sungmin become a hostage. Lee, adaptable as ever, agreed immediately. But Choi Chanho shouted against it. He offered to take Lee Sungmin's place. Baek scoffed and mocked him. I asked for Il-Heek's leader. Who do you think you are? Kim Gwanwon tried to ease tensions. He reasoned that Choi Chanho was the core of Il-Heek and fully qualified to stand in. Baek, frustrated by Kim's repeated interference, responded coldly. I'll make my own decisions. I don't need your input. Baek Ingsu said flatly, then assigned Kim the task of watching Choi Chanho. Kim didn't expect such treatment from Baek. After a pause, he said faintly, Baek douging wouldn't speak to me like that. It wasn't Baek Ingsu's nature. But repeated betrayals taught him one thing. In the underworld, no one is truly trustworthy. 5 years ago, he returned from a deep-cover mission in North Korea, but there was no applause. Only new missions waiting for him. He gave his life for the country, only to be treated like a criminal. In the end, it was Director Zhang who proved Beck's innocence, but the interrogators remained relentless. Zhang eventually had to forcibly remove him from interrogation. Years later, when he reunited with his brothers, even Zhang, the man he trusted like a father, betrayed him. It all felt like it had happened yesterday. While Beck was lost in painful memories, Kim came in saying everything was arranged. He tried once more to talk about the hostage issue, but Beck cut him off immediately. Kim grabbed his collar in anger. I misjudged you. I can't entrust Taesan society to someone like you. You'll never replace Beck Doujing. What's it like to be betrayed by the one you trusted most? To have your whole team destroyed overnight by your father figure, and your twin brother murdered? To uncover the truth, Beck assumed his brother's identity and took control of Taesan. Looking at the investigation files, Beck sank into sorrow. But just for that reason. Does everyone really have to die? Meanwhile, Director Zhang met again with Zhao Ritian to conspire. Zhao said everything was going according to plan. Director Zhang dismissed them all as low-level thugs. Taking them down is no problem. After all, I'm a professional. But Zhao warned him not to underestimate them. Zhang didn't take it seriously. He decided to make contact with the United Conference first. In case something happens with Taesan, he'll take action himself. Meanwhile, Kim Gwanwon questioned by Inchio's methods. Even if the result was good, he didn't agree with the way it was done. He didn't want the Taesan syndicate, built with Bai Dojin, to fall because of Bai Inchio. They said they'd give up Taesan. Now they want to take it back? Bai Inchio found this childish back and forth laughable. He believed that gang members should simply obey his orders without question. But Kim told him. People followed Taesan out of trust in Bai Dojin. If words don't work, let fists do the talking. Bai Inchio, already fuming, finally had a target. He lunged with a flying knee at Kim Gwanwon. Kim blocked it and grabbed Bai Inchio's face. Then slammed him backward onto the ground. Is that all the special ops got? Before he could finish, Bai kicked him in the jaw. Both collapsed to the ground. They couldn't stand each other. Meanwhile, Anhao was guarding Choi Chunho, now a hostage. Li Xingmin called to ask for an update. Choi told him not to worry. Being with Taesan feels like a vacation. Li admitted he acted too hastily. But Choi said the plan was solid. No one expected Bai Dojin was actually Bai Inchio in disguise. After the call, Anhao teased him. That didn't sound like a report to your boss. More like a grandkid calling grandpa. Anhao asked if Li Xingmin wasn't afraid they'd harm Choi. Choi said everything was for the greater good. He'd accept whatever came. Anhao was confused. Aren't subordinates supposed to follow the boss unquestioningly? Choi said that logic applied to the military, not gangs. That way you'll never find brothers who'd die for you. Back at the fight, the wrecked furniture showed the battle was over. But Bai Inchio's raised fist never fell. I think I made a mistake. With a dark look, Bai turned and walked away. I realized this isn't something a gang can solve. Just then, Anhao got a call from Bai. He told Choi to rest. He was leaving. Before he left, he told Choi sincerely, your view isn't wrong. But we need overwhelming power. Because we can't trust anyone. When Bai met Anhao, he shared his decision. From now on, we'll do things our way. We're going to build a brand new organization. Let's recruit those guys we talked about. We'll operate like true professionals. In a week, we'll destroy the coalition. If hell really exists, then this man is the devil in human skin. The brutal beast from the Xiong nation, Wagner Gyeongbing. He went undercover to hunt down traitors. And became Bai Inchio's first recruit. Meanwhile, Kim Gwanwon was lost in memory after his fight with Bai. 4 years ago, he worked for Ihi. After the old leader's death, he left. Opened a fried chicken shop to make a living. But old enemies weren't done with him. A long-haired man who often visited stepped in. Kim didn't want him involved and told him to leave. But the man didn't flinch. He introduced himself as Bai Dojin of Taesan. Kim had never heard of such a small gang. Then the thug's boss showed up and greeted them by cursing their whole family. It was Li Xingwen of HK, who made a living off loan sharking. Seeing his thugs beaten, he got furious. Said he'd sell Bai Dojin to a club as a male escort to pay it back. Bai didn't respond. Just gave him an icy stare, then grabbed Li's wrist. The other hand reaching for a dagger at his waist. A shriek echoed through the air. Li clutched his bleeding hand, sweating bullets. He cursed Bai like a madman and threatened revenge. Bai didn't care and introduced himself as from Taesan. Said he was always open to pay back. His lackeys rushed Li to the hospital. Kim said he didn't have to get involved, but Bai told him the truth. Once you step into the underworld, there's no turning back, then invited him to join Taesan. Kim hesitated for a while, then made up his mind. Thus began Taesan's golden age. And the two became sworn brothers. Back in the present, Kim looked at the wristband and fell into sorrow. Meanwhile, Li Xingwen learned. that Tae-san had left the coalition. He thought this was their weakest moment. After 4 years of building power, he now had 50 underlings. He vowed to avenge the humiliation from before. Just then, loud banging echoed at the door. A goon went to check and got slammed by the door. Boris stared coldly at everyone in the room. His presence here was all thanks to Baekingsu. He had suddenly seen a pentagram symbol at a construction site. He didn't know who used the sign to contact him. Following the hints, he arrived at a warehouse. There, he saw 2 strangers. Without hesitation, he drew a knife and charged. But Baekingsu didn't move an inch. He simply placed a USB drive before him, saying he wanted to make a deal. Seeing the USB, Boris paused. At that moment, Li Xinghua looked at Boris in surprise. Though he didn't know him, he thought this guy must be an idiot, daring to come alone. Then he ordered his men to kill Boris. As the order came down, the goons rushed forward, but they were met by the barrel of a gun. The sight instantly stunned everyone. Boris smashed one with the butt of his gun. Another tried a sneak attack. Boris turned his gun and aimed at him. "You want a peanut bullet?" Then knocked him out with another punch. The rest swarmed in again, trying to restrain Boris. He took the opportunity to mount one of them, and picked up a nearby knife. Under Li Xinghua's horrified gaze, he slowly slit the man's throat. The gruesome and bloody sight was like hell on earth. Not long after, only Li Xinghua was left. He seemed completely paralyzed by fear. Li Xinghua didn't resist. He waited for his fate. Just as the knife struck, Manhua rushed in, shouting to stop. He calmed Boris down, then called Baekingsu to report. Everyone here was wiped out except Li Xinghua. Despite that, Manhua was more worried about Baekingsu's safety, because Baek was up against the infamous Iron Rat. Baek told him not to worry, said the guy only worked for money. But in that split second of distraction, his target had vanished. Iron Rat dropped down from behind. "Who sent you? Give a bad answer, and you die." Once the brothers now clashing with the younger brother. Because of differences over managing tastes in society, this made Baek determined to act on his own terms. This time his target recruit was the youth known as Iron Rat. This boy was no ordinary figure. In the blink of an eye, he vanished from Baek's sight and launched a sneak attack from behind, but Baek blocked it just in time. The boy questioned if Baek had been sent to kill him. Baek didn't answer. He simply called him by his code name, Iron Rat. The boy's face changed instantly. He launched a swift offensive, but the more they fought, the more shaken he became. It was like Baek could read his every move, and his style felt familiar. But he was sure, before coming to Country H, he had already killed everyone who knew him. 3 years ago, he was just an ordinary North Korean boy named. He and many like him were placed in a factory. There, they were subjected to harsh military training. Their one-eyed instructor was Lee Yu-chang. They were being trained as spies to infiltrate Country H. The boys were all given the code name Iron Rat. Day by day, the brutal training numbed their humanity. Their once bright eyes turned cold and empty. The only warmth came from a kind delivery driver. He always brought Kyungchun chocolate bars. Only around him did he feel like a boy again. 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. By then, the trainees were highly skilled in combat and survival. Instructor Lee Yu-chang sent them on a mission, but fearing the danger, they plotted an escape at night. The plan: kill the driver and flee with the truck. The one person who was kind to Kyungchun was murdered. He broke down emotionally, picked up a knife and embraced the devil inside, captured all remaining Iron Rat members, and went on the run ever since. Not long after, Instructor Lee Yu-chang attacked the entire base. When his human skin mask was torn off, they realized it was Baekingsu in disguise all along. This way, the deaths of everyone at the base can be pinned on the fugitive Lin Xingchun. At this moment, Lin Xingchun had a knife held to his neck by Baingxiu. He was curious about where his opponent learned such fighting skills. These techniques were learned from an instructor long ago. Baingxiu still didn't answer, only saying he wanted to make a deal with him. Lin Xingchun was intrigued by the proposal. Meanwhile, inside a hotel, a man was being berated in the lounge. Lu Baiyan was venting on a subordinate over her hotel being shut down. Even her connections couldn't find out who was behind it. At that moment, a subordinate rushed in with another piece of news. HK's Li Xinghua had been taken down by the Taishan gang. She connected the two events, suspecting the hotel closure was also the Taishan gang's doing. So she rallied her men to take on the Taishan gang. But in the hotel lobby, a mysterious man mocked them. Lu Baiyan, already furious, exploded at his words. The mysterious man didn't back down, calling the group a ragtag bunch. Lu Baiyan threw a punch at him. The mysterious man dodged by tilting his head. The punch was caught by Zhang Kachang, standing nearby. This guy's got a foul mouth, but he's speaking the truth. Zhang Kachang glanced at Lu Baiyan. If you're willing to do something for us, we can help resolve your hotel issue. Lu Baiyan agreed to the proposal, but warned that if they were lying, she wouldn't let the two men off. The mysterious man laughed as if he'd heard a joke, chuckling without removing his hoodie. It was the ghost, the one who killed her brother. Lu Bian's temper flared. Zhang Keqiang told her to calm down. If you reject our offer, you'll be begging on your knees later. Wolves are at the top of the food chain. Even the king of the forest can only become their meal. Clear roles, strict discipline, and a powerful leader make it all possible. Lu Bian is that leader of the giant wolf gang. No one has ever dared to challenge her threats. Zhang Keqiang's dismissal made her furious. Before she could erupt, Zhang Keqiang pulled out a gun from his coat. No matter what, you're just a bunch of thugs. Lu Bian and her men were livid. Zhang Keqiang told them to cool off, then handed her a document. Lu Bian's expression shifted as she read it. The terms were generous, but risky. She still didn't trust them. The ghost swore he was a professional. Unexpectedly, Lu Bian tore the document to shreds. You keep saying you're so great, then prove it. Meanwhile, Manhua was waiting for someone. He sent messages but got no reply. He called to ask Bai Yingxiu what to do. Bai Yingxiu told him to keep waiting. He was currently with Tai Yushu. They were taking some actions. In the hallway, two men warned them not to cause trouble. Tai Yushu, excited, asked if the two were any good. The men didn't know what was happening. They only saw a figure flash by. Then a chilling sensation hit their necks. Tai Yushu smugly watched from the side. If you don't want to die, better cover that wound. They screamed, seeing blood on their clothes. And Hao, on the phone, heard the commotion. He wondered if Tai Yushu was too reckless. He might cause trouble. Bai Yingxiu told him not to worry. Then someone swung at him. Bai Yingxiu dodged and grabbed their wrist. A crack of breaking bones echoed, followed by a scream like a slaughtered pig. Bai Yingxiu stomped on the man's head. The others drew knives and charged. Bai Yingxiu knocked one out with a kick. Tai Yushu took down the rest. They aimed to destroy the giant wolf gang's subsidiaries, just like they did with HK's Li Xinghua. Meanwhile, the person Manhua was waiting for was someone he met on a mission in the Middle East. For enough money, he'd do any job, known as the errand boy. Bai Yingxiu and Tai Yushu pressed forward. A spinning axe flew toward him. Bai Yingxiu swiftly caught it. A mustached man in a white suit was shocked it was caught. He questioned why they dared provoke the giant wolf gang. They didn't bother with words. Tai Yushu dashed forward. Two men behind the mustached man pushed him aside. One grabbed Tai Yushu's hand, while another thrust a dagger at his face. His quick reflexes let him dodge in time. These guys were clearly professionally trained. Mustache, seeing Tai Yushu struggle, smirked, boasting they were elite fighters sent by Lu Bian. At the same time, another group had reached Taishan's headquarters. Bai Yingxiu, unaware of this, suspected these were Chief Zhang's operatives. He ordered Tai Yushu to deal with them. Tai Yushu raised two fingers, saying these were top-tier fighters. I want double the pay. With that, he kicked off the ground, charging at the group. He slapped the hand of the nearest attacker, his butterfly knife flashing in the other, slicing open the man's throat. Before the body hit the ground, he ducked and rushed another, who couldn't react before Tai Yushu's blade struck his face. In a flash, two elites were down. Terrifying mustache. Tai Yushu said he'd handle the rest, telling Bai Yingxiu to stick to the plan. Bai Yingxiu couldn't fathom Chief Zhang's swift moves, unaware this stemmed from a deal between Lu Bian and Zhang. Lu Bian initially worried he couldn't control these mercenaries, but Chief Zhang reassured him. They only care about money, not loyalty. As Bai Yingxiu prepared to charge out, a motorcycle roared toward him. A crowbar swung at his head. In the Middle East, there's a job called errand boy. They'll do anything for cash. No questions about identities or goods. Just deliver the item to the buyer and collect the pay. But this time, the buyer, to silence leaks, slipped a bomb into the payment. Miraculously, the errand boy survived the blast and unleashed a relentless vendetta, single-handedly wiping out the buyer's crew. He was the most dangerous errand boy. Now Bai Yingxiu faced him. The man revved the bike, circling Bai Yingxiu, then gunned it, charging straight at him. Bai Yingxiu, instincts kicking in, raised an arm to block, but the crowbar snapped his arm with a heavy blow. The man waited calmly at a distance, like a cheetah eyeing prey, ready to pounce at any opening. Meanwhile, a gang of thugs stormed Taishan's stronghold. A car parked nearby monitored everything. Ghost scoffed at working with the giant wolf gang, not understanding why a pro like him needed street thugs. Chief Zhang dropped a bombshell. Bai Yingxiu might still be alive. Ghost froze, then clapped his hands gleefully. Then I'll kill him again. Killing twins is the best, like killing the same guy twice. Chief Zhang glanced at his reflection in the glass. Let's wrap this up quick, Bai Yingxiu. At that moment, the giant wolf gang breached Taishan's defenses, catching Taishan's men off guard and overwhelming them. But Taishan, head of the 5 major factions, soon stabilized the situation. The fight became a stalemate. Blue Eyes, watching, frowned, punching a Taishan lackey to the ground. As Chief Zhang's men joined in, the tide turned again. The attackers surged, hammering Taishan. Suddenly, The giant wolf leader was smashed into the ground by a mysterious figure, a metal gauntlet's blow knocking him out cold. It was Nineblade Chui Qianhao, the former hostage. The giant wolf gang was stunned. Why was Nineblade here? Since Iha and Taishan are allies now, I can't just stand by. Bring it, you punks. Glasses Man slowly removed his specs. Old man, why not stay home sipping tea, instead of meddling in this bloodshed? You must be eager to die. He was Yao Changshuan, Special Operations Team Leader. His fists roared like a tiger charging down a mountain, or a dragon bursting from the sea, majestic and unstoppable. Soon, the ground was littered with broken limbs. He was the invincible Nineblade, Chui Qianhao. The giant wolf gang couldn't grasp why he sided with Taishan. Yao Changshuan sneered. Old fossils should stick to tea and death, not mess with the young blood's world. Chui Qianhao, about to retort to the insolence, took a heavy punch to his shin from Yao Changshuan. Before he could react, a flurry of jabs hammered his chest. Then, channeling his full strength, a devastating liver-exploding punch followed. A flawless combo knocked out Chui Qianhao. Damn old fool, always showing off. Meanwhile, Bai Yingzhou was locked in a stalemate. The enemy held back, stalling him in place. If he couldn't break through soon, his entire plan would collapse. Suddenly, the motorcycle charged head-on. Bai Yingzhou aimed to grab the rider's head, but the guy nimbly dodged. As Bai Yingzhou turned, the bike roared back at him. He braced to counter. But the rider slammed the brakes, rearing the back wheel. A crowbar swung at his skull. He dodged the crowbar, but was flung by the whipping rear wheel. Bai Yingzhou exhaled, forcing himself to stay calm, studying his opponent before acting. The rider kept scraping the rear wheel, kicking up smoke, obscuring Bai Yingzhou's vision. He had to rely on sound to predict attacks, left or right. The uncertainty left him unable to control the fight, forced into passive defense. That's all a pro's got. A voice came from behind. Bai Yingzhou froze, seeing Jing Guanxiong. Looks like you need an amateur's help. Back at Taishan's headquarters, Yao Changshuan, about to leave, was stopped. Chui Qianhao had risen again. Stubborn old trash, still fighting? Yao Changshuan wanted to end it fast, but a fist rocketed toward his face. Its speed was worlds apart from before. Yao Changshuan tried to back off, but Chui Qianhao closed in relentlessly, a heavy punch sending him flying. Yao Changshuan, tasting blood, reached for the dagger in his shoulder. Chui Qianhao's fist struck again, blasting the dagger, and Yao away. His left hand clamped Yao's face. Think I'm an easy mark? Didn't your folks teach you manners? Yao Changshuan struggled to breathe, drawing another dagger to stab Chui. Chui Qianhao caught the blade barehanded. We don't scheme or plot, but we fight for family, friends, and our crew. Get it now? Punk. That's our code. Meanwhile, Bai Yingzhou asked Jing Guanxiong about Taishan's fate. Jing Guanxiong told him not to worry. The man holding Taishan now wouldn't fall. Bai Yingzhou watched Jing Guanxiong approach the motorcycle, warning him the rider was an elite, not to be fought recklessly. Jing Guanxiong didn't reply, wrapping his jacket around his right hand. You think too much. No matter his fancy tricks, I'll smash through with raw power. Your brother taught me that. Jing Guanxiong's fist slammed the charging motorcycle, knocking the rider clean off. We're Taishan's bastards. The younger brother studies to stay calm. The older brother trains fists so idiots stay calm around him. Though twins, their personalities diverged young. Whenever Bai Yingzhou was bullied, Bai Daojin fought for him. Bai Yingzhou hated solving things with violence. So in middle school, he buried himself in books. By then, Bai Daojin had already gained a following, brawling and stirring trouble as a school legend. Now, he'd set up a fight on the field, but Bai Daojin's crew was battered, while the other side was tall and tough, clearly no pushovers. Someone recognized the leader as Qin Hao from Yicheng High, thinking Bai Daojin was in for a beating. Qin Hao boasted he just meant to teach Bai Daojin's friends a lesson, but since someone stepped up, he'd thrash Bai Daojin too. Bai Daojin, facing the taller Qin Hao, showed no fear, mocking him as a coward who only picked on the weak. If you're so tough, go mess with real thugs. Qin Hao's face twisted, ready to swing. Bai Daojin's friends moved to help, but he stopped them, saying he'd handle this alone. Students watching from the classroom cheered his bravado. The next second, Bai Daojin, groveling, sorry senior. The sudden shift stunned everyone. Bai Daojin claimed he'd long admired Qin Hao, leaving Qin Hao bewildered. Still, he was pleased with Bai Daojin's attitude. Caught off guard by the flattery, Qin Hao smug ate it up, saying next time they go easier on them, swiftly stabbing through Qin Hao's shoe. Qin Hao's wails echoed through the scene. Strike while he's down. Bai Daojin kicked Qin Hao, knocking him out. Jishuan delivers newspapers every morning to support his family, but you beat him until his head was broken. The remaining crowd snapped out of their shock. One threw a punch at Bai Daojin, But he countered, locking their elbow. Chunghua, because of his injury, hasn't brought seaweed rice to school lately. Bai Daojin said to himself, I miss the seaweed rice Chunghua's mom made. More people rushed forward. Several swarmed in, restraining Bai Daojin. One threw a punch straight at him, hitting Bai Daojin square in the face. But Bai Daojin grabbed his head, smashing a headbutt into his skull. And poor Lingon, whose head was already bad. Why did you hit his head? Seeing how tough Bai Daojin was, the rest charged in. Bai Daojin roared, everyone who messes with me will die. At that moment, a figure sped toward them, kicking away the ones holding Bai Daojin. Bai Daojin's spirits lifted at the sight of the newcomer. That stylish flying kick came from Bai Yingxiu. I'm jealous of a brother like you. Bai Yingxiu said calmly. We're brothers, after all. Snapping back to reality, Jin Guanxiong punched a motorcyclist, sending him flying. Sometimes Bai Daojin's methods can solve problems, Jin Guanxiong reminded him. Bai Yingxiu was curious what Bai Daojin was like in Jin Guanxiong's eyes. I'll tell you, Jin Guanxiong said, kneeling on one knee. I'll make you the Bai Daojin of the Taishan gang. Elsewhere, Cui Qianhao rubbed his hands, sighing that he was getting old. A little exercise left him sore all over. He called the remaining punks to line up. One pulled out a wire, wrapping it around his hand, suddenly ambushing Cui Qianhao. It was the ghost, who had been lying in wait. The older brother was outwardly the head of TS Finance, but secretly the boss of the Taishan gang. He was assassinated once. His twin brother took over the Taishan gang for revenge, gaining the loyalty of his brother's most trusted men. The motorcyclist who was knocked down got up again. He didn't expect to fail so badly. His gaze locked onto his prey, brandishing his crowbar. Jin Guanxiong clenched his fists and stepped forward. A fight was about to erupt. Then the motorcyclist's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then pointed at Jin Guanxiong. You broke my beloved headlight. You're dead today. Then he revved his engine and sped off without looking back, leaving the two in stunned silence. At the Taishan gang's headquarters, the scene was eerily quiet. Whether Taishan gang members or the attackers all knew the fight in the center would decide the outcome. Cui Qianhao's iron fist smashed into the ghost's jaw, but his expression grew graver. He knew his opponent was a lunatic. Any lapse could mean defeat. He needed to seize the momentum and take him down. The ghost cackled eerily. Old man, your soft punches won't do it. His body darted like a specter, slashing past. Though Cui blocked the vital spots, his glove bore a deep knife mark, and a gruesome wound gaped on his back. The ghost taunted him to move faster, or he'd send him to his grave soon. Thinking of killing Bai Yingxiu later, he laughed uncontrollably. Cui Qianhao rushed forward, throwing a punch. Faster, I'm on your right. Hurry up. Left, die old man. But Cui Qianhao caught the knife barehanded. He had to take this guy down fast. Gathering all his strength, he threw a punch, but the ghost blocked his arm. That's it. He yanked back, throwing a punch. Cui Chunho's arm was forcefully broken. Then the attacker leapt up, knee aiming straight for Choi's face. But a loud shout stopped him. Yao Changshuan issued a full retreat order. He said new orders had come in. The plan had changed. They had to retreat. This pissed off ghost, who was hyped for battle. He grabbed Yao by the hair. Damn it. All you've done is shout retreat since earlier. Want me to rip your mouth open? The game's just begun. Then Section Chief Zhang's voice came through the radio. Told you to stop playing. Come back. I have a more important task for you. Turns out Lu Bian had come up with an even nastier plan. Meanwhile, Lin Qingchun was whining about his tie, demanded Anhao help him with it, even gave him a nickname, English. Nearby, Boris was staring blankly at a fruit knife. Just then, the leader stepped out from the back. Anhao and Lin both praised how handsome their boss looked. Bai Yingxiu walked up in an all-black suit. From now on, we act like a real gang. Any suggestions where to start? Half an hour later, Cui Chunho stormed in angrily. Kim Guanlong hurried after him. Cui said he'd done plenty for Tae-san, and now they were sending him home. Kim explained Bai didn't mean it like that. Cui said he was just joking. He was planning to go anyway, but seeing Tae-san in its current state gave him a new idea. Maybe he can shine again like before. He wanted to return quickly to talk with Li Shengmin, but he didn't know. The Nine Blades were facing a deadly crisis. All members were down except the bald one. The attackers, Ghost, and a mystery writer, all part of Lu Bian's new scheme. Old geezers, your time is up. The underworld is ruled by deceit and gain, with Tae-san's leader Bai Dojin dead. The so-called stable coalition was crumbling, with Zhang's manipulation. First Giant Wolf Gang ambushed Tae-san, then saw Cui Chunho sitting in Tae-san's HQ, and turned around to attack Ihi's main base. Meanwhile, Li Shengmin was completely unaware of the coming storm. He was frustrated and full of regret, blaming his carelessness for his subordinates getting hurt. The red-haired guy said it's no big deal, but winced in pain the moment he moved, which made everyone burst into laughter. Suddenly, Noises came from outside. Li Guichang got up to check. They said they heard motorcycles downstairs. As he was speaking, a bike charged in. 3 were knocked down in surprise. Then the riders stormed the office to rescue someone. Horseface guy took the first hit from an iron rod. But these men were used to danger, living with blades on their lips. The bald one shouted, "Why are you breaking the alliance?" The wolf gang ignored him and ordered a full-on assault. The redhead kicked one of them. "You bugs think this is your turf?" He raged wildly, but his already injured ankle got even worse after that kick. The bald guy knew they couldn't hold out. He decided to get the bike ready, told Jingxing to go. "Take young Master Xingmin and run. I'll hold the line here." Horseface got up and clung to the rider, giving the bald guy an opening to kick him. Li Xingmin didn't want to abandon everyone, but Jingxing dragged him away. Seeing he still wanted to turn back, Jingxing said, "If the green hills remain, we'll have firewood to burn. As long as you're alive, Yi still has hope." Everyone here was prepared to die. Seeing the carnage behind, Lu Bian mocked the 9 blades as overrated. Too bad Li Xingmin got away. In the car, Li cursed his own weakness. He thought he could rebuild Yi's former glory, but realized he was just a clown. Suddenly, a motorcycle cut in front of the car, scattering a line of road spikes. Jingxing swerved hard and slammed the brakes. Li Xingmin wanted to face the rider with Jingxing, but Jingxing stopped him, told him to run quickly. "Don't let your brothers die in vain." Being part of the 9 blades was already late in this life. Li Xingmin started sprinting. He didn't know how long he ran, or how many times he fell. A voice in his head told him to stay alive. No matter how bitter or low, he had to live on. His brothers died for this. He finally reached Taisen HQ. Bai Yinxiu and the others were shocked by his appearance. Fei Qianhao asked what had happened. Li Xingmin didn't answer him. He turned to Bai Yinxiu and begged Taisen. He had once wanted to swallow Taisen. Now he was asking for help. It was shameless, but he had no choice. He knelt before Bai Yinxiu. But Bai Yinxiu quickly helped him up, said they were just discussing something interesting, then stated his intent to destroy the coalition, but hadn't decided which gang to start with, then asked for Li Xingmin's opinion. Meanwhile, in a hospital ward, Xiaoyao watched the man in the bed anxiously. He was kept alive through nutritional drips. A top fighter had become a vegetable, smoking 20 cigarettes a minute from stress. His grandson got furious when he found out. He still wanted to learn martial arts from him. The old man said strength doesn't come from muscle, but from an unyielding spirit. "Come on, son, drink this chicken soup." This was the man Li Shengmin idolized as a kid. Yi's founder, Li Songhak, who unified Korea's underworld. But just yesterday, Yi was taken down. Li Shengmin was devastated. His grandfather's empire fell in his hands. Choi Chunho was very worried, but only Li Shengmin could overcome it himself. Bai Yingshu treated him with courtesy, because Choi had helped Taesan before, so Li Shengmin could stay as long as he liked. Choi said gangs should support each other. "We're brothers." Bai Yingshu knew what he meant, but what could Yi even offer now? Choi promised, any Taesan, Yi would be there without fail. Bai slowly poured him some tea. "Was I asking Yi's boss, or did you suddenly become one overnight?" His words were dripping with sarcasm, but with no power. Choi couldn't say a word. "Uncle Choi, can you excuse us? I want to speak to President Bai alone." After Choi left, Li Shengmin asked if Bai held real power in Taesan. Bai didn't answer. He asked the same question back. Right now, things were spiraling beyond Li's control. Li realized he had to stay on Bai's good side. Only Taesan could help Yi now, so he asked if Bai wanted to form an alliance, but Bai rejected him immediately. Yi was too weak now. To be precise, Li Shengmin was too weak. Yi only had one path left, to submit to Taesan. But first, Li had to prove his worth. Li said Yi was still a member of the coalition, and Giant Wolf Gang had broken the agreement. He'd take it to the coalition and make Lu Bian pay. Meanwhile, a surprise guest visited HSS leader He Haesong. It was Lu Bian. After some small talk, he asked how Lu planned. Lu didn't care. He attacked Yi just because he hated Li Shengmin. He Haesong said he wouldn't support Lu. "This time you went too far." Lu didn't mind. This year's summit will be fun. The location was specially chosen for Li Shengmin. It was being held in his hometown. A complete slap in the face. The doorman mocked him like a stray dog, and threw vicious insults at him. Bai Yinshiu's words echoed in his ears. "Without the 9 blades, you're nothing. If you want to lead, Yi, show your strength." Li endured the mockery with a dark face. Someone even tossed a cigarette butt at him. Then a fat guy stepped in front of him. Someone even flicked a cigarette butt at him in contempt. Then a fat guy blocked his path. They said a joint summit was underway. No outsiders allowed. Li Shengmin, face dark, told the guard to get lost. Fatty thought he'd misheard. Li Shengmin's fist smashed into Fatty's face. Li Wu's lackeys heard the commotion outside. By then, Li Shengmin had already dropped Fatty, one of Li Wu's men, charged with a club, cracking Li Shengmin across the head. In a daze, his grandfather's words echoed. It's not about fighting skill, but the spirit to never kneel. Yet, surprisingly, Grandpa skipped square dancing for the underworld, brandishing a cleaver from Hanseong to Jeju Island, unifying H country's black market. That was damn cool. But his ambitions didn't stop there. He wanted to go legit and enter politics. He failed and fell hard, crushed by old rivals. In the end, he split Iha into 4 factions, creating H country's current underworld landscape. But Liu Bian ignored old chairman Li Chenghe and attacked Iha, infuriating Che Zhenshou of Tianxiong Trading. She demanded Liu Bian explain himself. Liu Bian mocked. Who are you to demand anything? This time it's Iha. Who's next? Hard to say. Che Zhenshou was about to erupt when Li Shengmin, bloodied, stormed in, ripping the cigarette from Liu Bian's mouth. I'm the master here. This is a place for, not a dog's den. Humiliated, Liu Bian swept the tableware off the table. Our young master Shengmin's got some guts, almost like a real man. Li Shengmin ignored the taunt, declaring himself Iha's true leader. He accused Liu Bian of violating the summit's pact by attacking Iha, demanding Giant Wolf Gang exit the alliance and surrender their territory. Liu Bian casually admitted, yeah, I did it all. But I had no choice. He pulled out photos of Li Shengmin meeting by Daojin, accusing Li Shengmin of inciting Taishan to hit Giant Wolf's branches. Though Li Shengmin knew it was a lie, the photos made it impossible to explain. He Haisong, allied with Liu Bian, pounced on the issue, pressing Li Shengmin. Li Shengmin was cornered. Liu Bian pressed his advantage. Can't talk your way out. Then let strength decide. As he spoke, Giant Wolf's hidden enforcers emerged behind Liu Bian. Che Zhenshou glared coldly. Think this mouse won't bite. You'll see I'm no sick cat. She donned sunglasses, snapping her fingers in the air. A figure with a machete appeared at the door. If it's war you want, I'll take both your heads today. Li Shengmin recognized Tianxiong's ace, the butcher. Liu Bian didn't want to clash with Che Zhenshou yet, but sneered. You can save Li Shengmin now, but can you protect him forever? Without Nineblade, he has nothing. Li Shengmin laughed loudly. I never said I was alone. A group approached the venue. A voice. Late again. Why's the vibe so damn grim? Liu Bian's brow furrowed. He snapped. Taishan's out of the summit. You've got no right to be here. Then he mocked Li Shengmin. This your new backup? Bai Yinzhou corrected him. Li Shengmin's our chairman. The claim shocked the room. What game was he playing? Bai Yinzhou said Taishan would honor old chairman Li Chenghe's will, fully backing Li Shengmin as chairman. He warned the others to pick a side. Follow the old chairman's vision, or become enemies. The butcher at the door moved, but Che Zhenshou stopped him. She led Li Shengmin inside. Bai Yinzhou praised her commanding presence. Suddenly, someone blocked their path. Bai Yinzhou turned and saw the man, his face twisting with rage. The man looked like a simple, honest middle-ager, but was a ruthless killer in truth. He would stop at nothing to achieve his goals, even killing his longtime brothers without hesitation. Baek Ing-su met his former mentor again. A surge of fury rushed to his chest. The intense rage. Li Sungmin, standing nearby, also saw Director Zhang, and became furious. Knowing this man caused everything, he was seething with rage. Baek Ing-su revealed the dagger in his hand. His entire aura turned cold and sharp. He calculated the distance between himself and Zhang, and how confident he was in landing a killing blow. But Zhang didn't seem to notice any of it. He calmly greeted Baek Ing-su. Moments later, Baek tried to smoke a cigarette to calm down. Zhang even thoughtfully lit his lighter on the ground. The scene made them look like old friends. Then suddenly, Zhang changed the subject, saying he had confirmed Baek's identity, and asked what Baek planned to do next, and why he didn't strike just now. Baek replied calmly, this won't end with just one person's death, then waved goodbye to him, saying he'd reveal his plans next time they meet. His comrades and brother died because of him. Only sheer willpower kept Baek from taking revenge on the spot, but he couldn't bear to see that vile face anymore. After they had walked away, Baek could no longer hold back. He gave a firm order to the others. Begin the operation. Elsewhere, at the lair of a lone shark gang, Li Xingguo was furious over their declining income. One of his dumb lackeys said the merchants were being tough. Even the butcher shop's pretty daughter refused to pay. Li Xingguo was getting a headache. He blamed that Russian from Taysan society, and that blonde kid who warned him to behave. Next time he saw them, he swore he'd beat them. Speak of the devil, he appeared. Anhao was now standing at the door, smiling cheerfully and greeting him. The dumb underling didn't recognize him, and arrogantly asked where this punk came from. Li Xingguo tried to stop him, but it was too late. Just thinking of the previous beating made him shiver. Sure enough, after a few loud bangs, the dumb lackey was lying unconscious on the ground. Anhao said he came today with a few questions. First, everything he knew about the Giant Wolf Society. Second, a place that could hold 5 people. Li Xingwu thought to himself, so the rumors were true. Ilhik and Taesan had allied against the Giant Wolf Society. He had to pick the right side now. So he confidently told Anhao, but added a small condition. He wanted to join Taesan's society. That request made Anhao disgusted. Wasn't this guy part of the Giant Wolf Society? Li Xingwu. A good bird chooses the right tree to nest in. Anhao agreed to his request. Li Xingwu then spilled everything he knew. When they finished, Anhao told him to come along. To find a place to detain 5 people. Li Xingwu didn't want to show his face. But Anhao said he was a Taesan brother now, and they advance and retreat together. At night, in an abandoned factory in a remote area, they were holding one of the 9 blades. A man entered the factory. Lu Bian told him to quit the grudge face act. He was the star now. Then began chatting freely. Taesan and Ilhik had teamed up to crush the Giant Wolf Society. They were now recruiting 9-blade members. The bald man didn't get it, and mocked him. Scared are you? Lu Bian laughed out loud. Even united, they weren't a threat. Except for Kim Guanwong and Choi Chanho. The rest were trash. Now it was the bald man's turn to laugh. Did you forget about someone far more terrifying? The 9 blades had suffered under Baek In-su's hand. At that moment, Baek In-su had stormed a Giant Wolf outpost alone. Lying beneath him was a man covered in wounds. Baek asked who had taught him that blade technique. If you don't answer, I'll send you to meet Marx. He was publicly the president of TS Financial, but secretly the leader of Taesan Society. By his side was his capable aide, Kim Guanwon, and a woman working behind the scenes. But a massive conspiracy was quietly surrounding Taesan. Baek Daojing was ambushed and killed. His twin brother took over Taesan Society. Since then, Shia rarely appeared. He didn't want to see that familiar yet unfamiliar face anymore. Kim Guanwon and he. We feel the same. Shioya sees things clearly. Putting aside other identities, they're still members of Taesan. They must do their job well. This briefing is just part of their work. In the meeting room, Bai Inxiu and Li Shengmin were already waiting. Shioya stood at the front analyzing clues they'd gathered. Currently, there are 2 possible locations for the 9 blades, but Taesan doesn't have the manpower to attack both places at once. The motel is in a low-density area. Any action would be quickly noticed. So Shioya suggested focusing efforts on the abandoned warehouse. Bai Inxiu already had a plan in mind. In this kind of ambush, too many people isn't ideal. If it's a trap, it'll be a complete disaster. So he decided to send Lin Qingchun and Anhao to the warehouse. They're better at stealth. Bai Inxiu would personally. That night, at the rundown motel, Bai Inxiu was asking around. A thug-looking guy refused, citing guest privacy, and rudely, "Don't cause trouble here." Bai Inxiu didn't say much. He stabbed the guy's palm through the table with a knife. "Can you answer my question now? Are the 9 blades held here?" Before the man could answer, Bai Inxiu pulled the knife out. "I'd rather ask in person." A group of armed men surrounded him, but they underestimated his strength. Just 5 minutes later, Bai Inxiu calmly wiped the blood off his blade. He grabbed one man on the ground to question, but realized there were no survivors. It was Choi Chunho who arrived. He had a burning question in his heart. Why help Ihi? He felt Ihi, and even Taesan, were being used by Bai Inxiu. Besides the noble excuses, he wanted to hear Bai's true intentions. Just then, a gang of punks interrupted their talk. They arrogantly told them to stay still. Suddenly, Bai Inxiu grabbed one guy's ankle, yanked downward. The man was thrown into the air. Another attacker was disarmed mid-strike by Bai Inxiu. At the same time, Choi's punch landed, smashing the guy into the ground. Meanwhile, Bai Inxiu finished off the others. Choi had only heard. Now he witnessed it firsthand. He always found the perfect moment, delivering fatal blows. They were on completely different levels. With the 2 working together, the attackers quickly fell apart. After stabbing someone without hesitation, Bai Inxiu stayed calm and composed, while the enemies were already panicking. Meanwhile, Anhao's group arrived at the warehouse. Li Xingwu said he wasn't completely sure, but noticed a lot of new faces lately. Some were even carrying guns. Hearing that, Anhao looked concerned. Back to Bai Inxiu and Choi Chunho. They were tigers among sheep. Soon, bodies littered the ground behind them. One thug tried to run, but was kicked back by someone inside. It was Li Changkue of the 9 blades. Choi asked about the others. Li said he escaped in the chaos, and the others were still in danger. He told them to follow him. Choi wanted to go, but Bai Inxiu stopped him. Something didn't feel right. Li Changkue had hidden with a weapon around the corner. They risked their lives entering enemy territory, only to be ambushed by the one they came to save. If Bai stepped out, he'd be shot in the head. Zhang's section chief promised if he killed Bai Inxiu, he'd fully support Ihi and help restore their glory. Li didn't trust Zhang at first, but one sentence changed his mind, so he decided to switch sides. Bai Inshio also sensed something wrong. He prepared to dash past the corner. Choi grabbed him. "I'll handle this." He asked Lee why he betrayed them. "Let's talk it out." Lee shouted back. "This isn't for myself." Back then, the 9 blades fought side by side and created the glory days of Ihi. But after the old boss died, that position should have gone to brother Choi Chunho. Why let that clueless brat Lee Shungmin take it? Everything happening now is his fault. Choi Chunho cut him off mid-sentence. "In this world, we live and die together. Once you're Ihi for life. Betrayal like today's is unforgivable. Don't be like this, brother Chunho." Choi Chunho told him to stop calling him brother. From today, they're no longer brothers. He'll clean house in the name of the 9 blades. But even as he said it, tears were already falling down his cheeks. Seeing Choi Chunho approaching, Lee Changkue raised his gun in panic to stop him, but he forgot about his surroundings. Bai Inshio suddenly burst in through the window. Lee Changkue tried to shoot back, but Bai Inshio grabbed his arm, then slashed down with his blade. Lee clutched his arm in agony, letting out a blood-curdling scream. Bai Inshio swept him off his feet again. Lee's head slammed hard onto the ground. Bai Inshio grabbed his neck. "What I hate most are traitors." He was ready to end him then and there. Choi Chunho quickly shouted to stop him. Bai Inshio turned and gave a sinister smile. "Anything else you want to say?" Elsewhere in an abandoned factory, the 6th of the 9 blades, Sun Mong, shouted he was hungry. A figure walked in from outside. Tai Yushu said he didn't bring food, but had a salted egg yolk pancake on it. Sun Mong looked at him. He looked barely 15 or 16. He wondered how he made it through so many guards. Tai Yushu said he was from Taisan. Sun Mong asked about the others. Tai Yushu told him not to worry. Everything was arranged. Meanwhile, on the other side, Anhao took down the guards and found the 8th of the 9 blades. He asked if he still remembered him, but got no reply. He seemed unconscious. Anhao tried waking him, but behind Zhangda's back, a blade was being gripped. Suddenly, he sprang up and slashed at Anhao's neck, but Anhao dodged in time. He had sensed something was wrong all along. The figure sitting there was smaller than what he remembered. Zhangda ripped off the mask on his face. It was the mysterious ghost. Ghost said that strike. Even Bai Inshio wouldn't dodge it. Anhao didn't get what he meant, but since he mentioned the team leader, he had to die. In a flash, they exchanged over 10. Ghost grinned maniacally. "I'm the one who killed Bai Inshio. One of them executed countless missions. The other was a TH governor, specialized in dirty work. Who would win this deadly clash?" Anhao struck first. A punch straight at Ghost's throat. Ghost dodged and evaluated him. His speed and precision were good, but still inferior to Bai Inshio, because he already spotted Anhao's weakness. Just as he was about to act, a flying knife came at his face. He barely dodged it. It grazed his cheek. He realized Anhao faked a weak point, just to launch that sneak attack. Ghost grinned twistedly again. "You better not disappoint me." At another abandoned warehouse, Li Xinghua found one more, holding spot for the 9 blades. He felt it was finally his time to shine, facing a burly guard. He showed no fear, snapping, "Out of my way, mutt." The guy didn't react, so Li threw a punch. The guard prepared to counter, but then Li Xinghua flashed a giant wolf badge. He successfully deceived the thugs and reached the warehouse, where he saw the bald man held captive. At first, the bald man didn't recognize him. Li Xinghua flamboyantly flipped his hair. "I'm here on behalf of Taishan Society to save you." On the other side, Bai Inshio leaned on the car, smoking. He gave space to Cui Qianhao and the traitor Li Changkue. Inside the car, Cui Qianhao asked if he regretted it. Li Changkue said he had already seen through the situation. They no longer had the strength to fight Giant Wolf Society. Only by handing over Taishan and the young master could they survive. Seeing that Li Changkue was still delusional at this point, Cui Qianhao punched him in the face, then followed with punch after punch. "If you keep spouting nonsense, I'll really interrogate you myself." Blood gushed from Li Changkue's mouth, but this time, it stirred waves behind him. "Our fight isn't about winning or losing. It's about protecting what we cherish." Li Changkue wept uncontrollably. "How can we protect it? With fists this weak." Suddenly, Bai Inshio opened the door and interrupted them. He slammed the gas pedal. The car sped off. Cui Qianhao asked what was going on. Bai Inshio looked serious. He said something felt off. They had to rush to the warehouse. Meanwhile, the fight at the warehouse had reached close combat. After dodging Anhao's dagger, the ghost mocked him, asking if he still wanted to play. After exchanging a few moves, neither side could gain the upper hand. Both stepped back simultaneously. Ghost was shocked internally. His opponent's moves mirrored his own, and how casually played with the knife in his hand. It was actually the backup blade Ghost had hidden at his waist. Only then did Ghost confirm their shared identity. They resumed fighting. And how, familiar with his opponent's moves, kept suppressing him. Ghost soon had multiple wounds. Yet he gave an evil smile when Anhao thrust his blade again. Ghost grabbed the blade barehanded and used it to stab at Anhao. At the same time, his left-hand blade approached. Die, brat. There was a special ops team called Ghost Unit. They handled covert tasks for the H country government, and Anhao used to be their captain. Skilled in close combat and proficient in all weapons, he showed no mercy to enemies. After taking out the guards, he found his target, a double agent operating between North and South Korea, codename Twin Arms. Twin Arms told Anhao to spare his life, and he'd offer huge benefits. His left hand reached toward the drawer, seeing Anhao within shooting range. He laughed and pulled the trigger, but Anhao flickered like a mirage. He seemed to see a thread in his eyes. Then pain struck his left arm. He realized too late his arm had been neatly severed. Anhao mocked that he should now go by, but this time, he wouldn't kill him, just a warning. After walking out, Anhao reported the mission to his superior. His superior was Section Chief Zhang. Zhang was dissatisfied with Anhao's handling. He warned that no matter the mission, if Ghost is dispatched, there must be no survivors. The higher-ups might not know about Ghost Unit, but Anhao must know his role's meaning. Anhao said he understood. He promised there would be no loose ends next time. It's in this twisted environment that he survives. Today's fight with Ghost brought back memories. Ghost thought he had the upper hand, but Anhao knew every one of his moves, even his ultimate techniques and flaws. One low sweep knocked Ghost down. Then he raised his dagger to strike. Ghost quickly rolled left to dodge, but Anhao's blade scraped the ground in pursuit. He couldn't avoid it, so he braced to trade injuries, kicking toward Anhao's head, but Anhao had expected it. He firmly caught Ghost's head in both hands. A double blade thrust sprayed blood everywhere. Ghost staggered back several steps, but now had a horrifying wound on his leg. Ghost was terrified. 1 second later, and he would have lost the leg. What kind of monster is this man? It was like he could predict every move. Just then, a voice came through Anhao's earpiece. Trouble at the warehouse. They needed backup. Anhao sheathed his weapon calmly. Playtime's over for today. Ghost's past pride now looked like a joke. Watching Anhao walk away, all he could do was curse under his breath. 10 minutes ago, all 9 blades were located. Li Xinguo was carrying the injured horse-face guy. He was barely breathing. Condition critical. They were about to catch a breath when car headlights beamed in. It was the last face they wanted to see. Lu Bian, sneaking in like a filthy rat. All of you will die here tonight. Only Tai Yushu could fight now, but they were vastly outnumbered. Suddenly a voice rang out from behind. Using a car roof as a springboard, someone dove toward Lu Bian like an eagle. A wire looped tightly around his neck. Don't move a muscle, came the warning. But Lu Bian still swung a fist instinctively. Anhao landed behind him. The wire instantly tightened. He pulled hard with both hands, lifting Lu Bian clean off the ground. Just a bit more. He might not be the prettiest guy, but his strength was no joke. Even Ghost, who killed by Daojing, was toyed by him with ease. Now he ambushed Lu Bian and saved the crew. Don't even twitch, he warned again. Lu Bian, choking, struck back on instinct. Anhao spun behind him. More wires coiled around his throat. He kicked his knee. Lu dropped, then pulled the wires outward. Lu's face turned deep purple. His men dared not move seeing the danger. Anhao told Tai Yushu to evacuate the 9 blades. Once they were safe, he'd let Lu go. Suddenly a figure appeared behind Anhao. It was Section Chief Zhang. Anhao had to release Lu to dodge the strike. Quick reflexes, Zhang grinned. Anhao turned and saw it was him. His eyes blazed with fury. He slashed at Zhang in rage, but Zhang evaded effortlessly, then slammed his knee into Anhao's gut. The blow knocked the wind out of him. Zhang finally recognized him. Didn't think you'd survive that, but your presence confirms it. The Taisan leader is by Inshio in disguise. Then he stabbed through Anhao's palm. Don't try anything, 9 blades. This is how you use a hostage properly. Lu Bian had never been so humiliated. He kicked Anhao furiously, then punched down with all his might. I'll smash that face of yours. Anhao shielded his head with an arm. Another wild punch. Lu was out of control. Anhao hooked his arm and flipped him over. Lu Bian was pinned beneath him. No amount of struggling helped. Anhao locked him down with a choke, then pulled out a marker and drew a line right down his face. A clear message. Mess around, and he dies. Zhang just laughed. Threatening me with that clown won't work. Hearing that, his goons snarled and moved in. Anhao mocked Zhang's poor understanding. A real lackey would die for his boss. If you want to play dirty, you'd better follow the rules. Zhang, feeling the pressure, backed down. Anhao didn't loosen his grip for a second. Not until Zhang retreated, and the 9 blades escaped down the alley. Anhao smirked slyly. Spared you this time, furball. Next time, you're dead meat. Lu Bian swung a punch behind him, but Anhao had already vanished. He gnashed his teeth in rage, swearing next time he'd grind Anhao to dust. Zhang said he'd take full responsibility. Lu Bian grinned wildly. I've got plenty of rage to vent. Zhang took up a fighting stance too. Meanwhile, Bai Inshio had reunited with the 9 blades. Horseface's condition was worsening. He needed a hospital ASAP. Soon after, and Hao also returned safely. Lee Changkue looked at the severely injured Horseface man with immense guilt in his heart. He blamed himself for his brother's suffering, but Horseface man didn't blame him. He told him to apologize to young Master Shengming and seek forgiveness. Lee Changkue was already sobbing uncontrollably. 10 minutes later, Section Chief Zhang lit a cigarette. The boss of Giant Wolf Society had fists just this big. Then he grabbed Lu Bian's hair. It's as soft as kunkin. Brother Nin once said, in this world, fists must be ruthless, and brothers must value loyalty. But Lee Changkue betrayed Zhou Dao for profit, causing the tragic death of his decades-long brother, Horseface man. The hot-tempered red hair punched him in the face, while cursing angrily. You scum! How do you even have the face to come back? Cui Qianhao stopped him and said, that's enough. But red hair shoved him aside. No matter what, we clean up this traitor today. Bai Yinxiu sat on the couch, quietly observing. Cui Qianhao said the matter should be handled by young Master Shengming. Li Shengming was filled with inner turmoil. Li Changkue was an old veteran who had followed his grandfather into battle. Now he had committed an unforgivable crime. He looked to Bai Yinxiu for help. Bai Yinxiu slowly stood up. Betrayal is a serious crime. Even leniently, it's 3 cuts and 6 lashes. Then he let Li Shengming decide himself. Then he said to Zhou Dao, start over. This isn't just a few punches in a self-pity performance. You can't cover things up so easily. Then he patted red hair on the shoulder and walked out without a word. He left the space to Zhou Dao's members. Li Shengming was overwhelmed with thoughts. It was his own weakness and kindness that caused this. In the past, he might have forgiven it all and welcomed Li Changkue back. But now, he realized how he must change to survive. Li Changkue was deeply remorseful for causing his brother's death. He willingly accepted all punishment. As Li Shengming approached him step by step, he didn't resist. But Li Shengming didn't strike him, which caught him off guard. He shouted loudly, asking why he didn't do it. Li Shengming told him that Yi's blade won't strike brothers, even former ones. From now on, our ties are severed. If we meet again, we're enemies. Then he walked away without looking back. The other members of Zhou Dao followed him. At that moment, being abandoned by his brothers hurt more than death. Li Changkue could hardly bear it. Li Shengming sighed deeply. No matter how noble the words, they couldn't hide his true feelings. Cui Qianhao said he was becoming more like his father, someone who led the gang with honor and loyalty. He firmly declared that Li Shengming's decisions were now Yi's direction. On the rooftop, Bai Yinxiu gazed into the night in deep thought. He carved a lollipop out of a block, but couldn't find a lighter. A hand passed him one. It was Xiuya, who hadn't appeared in a long time. Bai Yinxiu joked, didn't expect you to smoke lollipop. This is your big brother's, Bai Yinxiu. At her words, he paused. It had been a long time since someone called him by his real name. He had been acting in his brother's name for revenge. I often wonder what he would have said if he were here. Xiuya smiled gently. He definitely... My foolish little brother. Hearing that, Bai Yinxiu burst into laughter. That's just like that dumb big brother of mine. At that moment, Li Shengming and Cui Qianhao arrived on the rooftop and respectfully returned the weapon. Bai Yinxiu didn't ask what. Then Cui Qianhao brought up a question that had long been on his mind. What exactly is your goal, Bai Yinxiu? But Bai Yinxiu didn't answer directly. Instead, he asked Cui Qianhao, when he ruled Seoul's underworld, how much money came in per day? Cui Qianhao said he never calculated it exactly, but it was astronomical. Bai Yinxiu said such massive profits can blind people. The country government plans to purge underground forces and redistribute the profits. Bai Yinxiu said when he stands atop Seoul, he'll hand it over to Yi. Cui Qianhao still didn't understand his motive. Bai Yinxiu said it's simply revenge against Section Chief Zhang. Maybe it's time for Li Shengming and the others to meet my brother, so I can finally return to being myself. This sleazy middle-aged man is Uncle Stick, the top enforcer. He dared to storm the underworld's lair alone today, but he's not here to cause trouble. He's here at Chief Zhang's invitation to discuss cooperation. Zhao Ritian sarcastically remarks that times have changed. Small-time thugs aren't even scared of the police anymore. Then he glances up at Lu Bian across from him. You're the boss of the Giant Wolf Gang, right? Lu Bian is about to introduce himself, but Zhao Ritian's next words make his face darken. Those scars on your face are quite distinctive. Lu Bian responds coldly, asking if he wants a few scars of his own. At this moment, Chief Zhang steps in to stop the brewing conflict, warning Zhao Ritian that he was invited to cooperate, not to show off his authority here. Zhao Ritian, wary of Chief Zhang, has to swallow his frustration. The 3 parties then begin discussing cooperation. Meanwhile, in Miwanli, Li Shengmin finishes handling Horseface's funeral. Staring at the black and white photo, he's overwhelmed with grief. Since childhood, he loved hanging out with Horseface. Because Horseface was tall, young Li Shengmin always enjoyed riding on his shoulders. They even promised he'd grow taller than Horseface one day. But Horseface will never see that day. Li Shengmin sheds tears of sorrow. At this moment, Bai Yinshu is waiting for them outside. Li Shengmin composes himself and walks over. For the help provided by the Taishan gang this time. Both of them bow deeply in gratitude. If not for the Taishan gang, the Nine Blades gang might have been completely wiped out. Bai Yinshu accepts their thanks, but also comforts them not to be too sad. They should turn their grief into strength, because they still have very important things to do. Then he says he wants to introduce someone to them, saying that for now, Boris will be responsible for protecting Li Shengmin's safety, temporarily joining the Nine Blades to replace Horseface. Inside the hotel, Lu Bian looks at himself in the mirror. If they go to war with Taishan and both sides suffer heavy losses, Tianxiong Trading might seize the opportunity. So it's better to reach out to Tianxiong first and test the waters. At this moment, there's a knock at the door. A subordinate reports that Tianxiong has postponed the meeting. This makes Lu Bian extremely irritated, wondering what went wrong this time. Meanwhile, in Dalandong's Chinatown, Bai Yinshu walks alone into a restaurant. The owner asks what she wants to eat, but is interrupted. Bai Yinshu says she's not here to eat, but to find someone. She hands over a business card and asks the owner to pass a message to Che Jinshu. The owner chuckles and says he'll definitely pass it on. Suddenly, he grabs an axe and swings at Bai Yinshu. As Bai Yinshu dodges, she twists his arm, saying she's a friend of Che Jinshu. But more thugs surround her. Ignoring her explanation and attacking directly, Bai Yinshu kicks a stool at her feet. The stool flies and hits a thug's knee. Bai Yinshu seizes the moment to grab his head and slams it hard against the counter. Her swift moves intimidate the others. Suddenly, a figure steps out from the crowd. It's a tall, long-haired woman with a striking figure. She vanishes from her spot in an instant and swings a blade at Bai Yinshu with great force. As Bai Yinshu moves to dodge, the blade suddenly slips from the woman's hand. She catches it with her left hand and slashes horizontally, changing the attack's trajectory in this way. Quite clever. This is the infamous Tianxiong Butcher of the underworld. The 5 major gangs in Seoul balance each other to maintain peace. Now Iha and Taishan plan to wage war against the Giant Wolf gang, but they're wary of the other 2 gangs seizing the advantage. So Bai Yinshu goes alone to negotiate with Tianxiong, only to be ambushed by Tianxiong's people. The Butcher is intrigued that she dodged her attack. Just as tensions peak between them, a loud shout draws their attention. Che Jinshu storms toward them angrily. The Butcher reassures her not to worry, saying she can deal with Bai Yinshu quickly. But Che Jinshu slaps her across the face, demanding to know why she's doing this. The Butcher remains silent. Che Jinshu asks if the axe on the table is hers, coldly asking if she's forgotten her past vows. In the past, countless brothers died in fights to achieve today's peace and stability. So Tianxiong's weapons should only be drawn to protect comrades. Though Che Jinshu is a woman, her few words stabilize the situation, calming the previously furious crowd. This shows Che Jinshu is not to be underestimated. But then she turned into a gentle little lady, worriedly asking if Bai Yinshu was hurt. Bai Yinshu joked, "If you'd come any later, sis, I'd be a dead man by now." In the office, the Butcher still glared at Bai Yinshu. He told her to relax. Everything before was just a misunderstanding. The Butcher scoffed, saying she just doesn't like scumbags like him. Che Jinshu asked what Bai Yinshu wanted from him. Bai Yinshu got straight to the point. Tae-san would attack Giant Wolf Gang. Which side will you choose? Che Jinshu answered bluntly, "I choose neither side." Tianxiong only follows where profit leads, but Bai Yinshu wouldn't allow a third party to benefit from the conflict. He needed to eliminate all risks before war began. He didn't need Tianxiong's help, just for them to stay neutral. Then Tae-san would leave Tianxiong alone. Another threat, it seemed. The Butcher angrily placed a blade to his throat, but Bai Yinshu didn't flinch. "Try pointing that knife at me again." Things were getting out of hand. Che Jinshu hurried to defuse the tension. "If I wanted to threaten you, I wouldn't have come alone." Bai Yinshu's eyes turned cold. He pulled a ring box from his pocket. Che Jinshu was completely baffled by this move. Talk about a plot twist. The Butcher grew furious again. "You dare flirt with our boss?" But inside the box was only a USB drive. Bai Yinshu explained, "It contains the truth behind the chaos. Watch it and give me an answer." Watching Bai Yinshu leave, Che Jinshu fell silent. The Butcher asked what he would do. Che Jinshu still wasn't sure. The Butcher snapped, "A leader has to make decisions." Unexpectedly, Che Jinshu burst into tears. "I'm not fit to be a leader. I'm just not strong enough." The Butcher shoved him aside. "Cut the crap, you coward." Seeing him sobbing like a baby, she sighed and said, "No matter what happens, I'll stand by you." That finally brought a smile to his face. That night, at a barbecue joint, a Tianxiong member was bragging about beheading Tae-san's boss. Suddenly a car rammed into the shop. Chaos erupted instantly. A group of masked thugs got out. More cars surrounded them from a distance. Though masked, they all wore Tae-san insignia. They swarmed the Tianxiong men and beat them down, shouting, "That's what you get for disrespecting our boss." Meanwhile, Jin Guanxiong arrived, reporting to Bai Inxiu over the phone. "It's all going down here." Bai Inxiu chuckled. "They're trying to frame us, huh? Then let's show them the real Taysan." Jin Guanxiong cracked his joints. "So eager to join Taysan? Should I give you official badges?" The underground peace in Hansung was shattered. To stop Tianxiong from profiting off the war, Bai Inxiu went to negotiate. But that same night, Tianxiong's men were attacked by Taysan. The butcher flew into a rage. "Taysan? Nothing to fear. Should have killed Bai Inxiu long ago." Che Jinsu urged her to calm down. If it was Taysan, why wear badges? Wouldn't they act in secret? Even Jin Guanxiong tried to stop it. It all feels way too suspicious. Che Jinsu suspected sabotage. Someone trying to turn Tianxiong and Taysan against each other. But the butcher still thought it was just a false flag act by Taysan. But none of that mattered anymore. What mattered now was Che Jinsu's final stance. The pressure was on him again. He looked deeply troubled, still unable to make a decision. And just like that, the question was thrown back at Che Jinsu. He was clearly torn, still as indecisive as ever. The butcher, furious, declared he'd act on his own. Helpless, Che Jinsu said he'd seek help from Mr. Wang. The butcher was shocked to hear that name, reminding him that the man was unpredictable. Meanwhile, Bai Inxiu arrived at the barbecue joint where the incident occurred. He was looking for clues that might identify the attackers. There were worn marks suggesting frequent use, but they weren't military-issued weapons, so it likely wasn't Zhang Section Chief's men. A banknote inside one of the cars caught his attention. It was Dragon Nation currency. Could it have been Dragon Nation's organization that attacked Tianxiong? He called Li Shengmin to ask whether Tianxiong trade had any conflicts with them. Li Shengmin said he'd investigate and get back to him. Just as Bai Inxiu was about to light a cigarette to relax, he realized his lighter was out of fuel. At that moment, a stranger handed him a can. The man introduced himself as Wang Yukai, owner of a nearby currency exchange shop. He said Che Jinsu asked him to help clean the scene. Upon learning Bai Inxiu was the Taysan boss, he bowed respectfully. Bai Inxiu told him not to be so formal, but was secretly on guard. The guy walked across shards of glass, like it was nothing, as if he was used to that sort of thing. The two chatted casually. Bai Inxiu said he still wanted to look for clues, and asked Wang Yukai not to clean up yet. Wang agreed readily, and walked to the side. Bai Inxiu quietly wondered about his true intentions, and if he was connected to the attackers. He texted Li Shengmin, asking if they had any info on Wang Yukai. Wang claimed that because of his currency business, he heard a lot of things. Based on what he knew of Bai Daojing, his favorite cigarette brand was Red River Wanbi. Hearing that, Bai Inxiu's heart skipped a beat. He quickly explained he was trying a new brand, but Wang Yukai pressed further. For a heavy smoker, not noticing your lighter was empty? You look like it's your first time smoking. Just from that small detail. He started doubting Bai Inxiu's identity. That realization sent chills down Bai Inxiu's spine. Wang Yukai casually picked up a shard of glass. Let's see what secret you're hiding. He leapt at Bai Inxiu. Meanwhile, Li Shengmin was asking Cui Qianhao about Wang Yukai. At first, Cui was thinking back, then suddenly his face changed. He said this guy, though a money exchanger on the surface, was actually an information broker, and the leader of the Black Dragon Society. 15 years ago, an inter-gang turf war broke out. It led to the fall of Li Shengmin's grandfather. Just recalling it made Cui Qianhao's hands tremble with rage. Hearing that, Li Shengmin's face also darkened. Back at the scene, Wang Yukai struck suddenly, but Bai Inxiu had been on guard. Wang's hidden nail scraped across his chest. Bai asked him, "Who are you really?" That move was no ordinary merchants. Wang Yukai didn't answer, instead asking, "Are you really Bai Daojing?" From that short exchange, Bai Inxiu already knew this man was dangerous, able to weaponize anything nearby. Suddenly, Bai's phone rang. He gestured to pause a moment. It was a message from Li Shengmin about Wang Yukai, warning Bai not to face him alone. Wang thought he was trying to run. Bai gave a sly smile. Let's see how strong the Black Dragon Society really is. They got into position and resumed fighting. On the surface, Wang was a small shop owner, but in truth, he led the Black Dragons. He once single-handedly dismantled the largest gang of his time, and now, he ambushed Bai Inxiu of Taysan. From small clues, he suspected Bai was impersonating his brother. He didn't care for Bai's explanations. He was confident he could take down this man full of secrets. Bai had already been cautious around him. Although Wang was powerful, Bai wasn't weak either. They stopped talking and resumed fighting immediately. Wang hurled hidden weapons at Bai Inxiu, who knew that was just a setup. He calmly slashed at Wang's blind spot, but Wang didn't dodge. Without another word, the two clashed once more. Wang Yukai hurled a hidden weapon at Bai Inxiu. Bai Inxiu knew it was just a feint hiding the real strike. He calmly swung his blade toward Wang's vulnerable spot, but Wang Yukai didn't even try to dodge. He punched directly against the blade. Instead, he shattered Bai Inxiu's dagger. then flipped it and stabbed toward Bainshio. Bainshio had to raise his arm to block. The blade hit right on his watch. With a lift of his arm, he disarmed Wang Yotsai's dagger again, then caught it with his right hand, and slashed Wang Yotsai's arm. Clearly, the two were skilled duelists with blade techniques. The first clash was just probing. The real fight was about to begin. Wang Yukai dodged Bainshio's horizontal slash, but his attack was blocked again. Bainshio reversed his grip on the dagger, aiming for Wang Yotsai's neck. Wang Yukai blocked it, raising his knee. His whole body spun like a top, then landed a heavy kick on Bainshio. But Bainshio didn't retreat an inch. Instead, he slashed the enemy back. Wang Yukai tried to retreat, but Bainshio tripped him. Losing balance, he fell backward. His luck was good. He fell right into the car. Bainshio wanted to pounce and finish him. Wang Yukai pulled out a steel pipe from somewhere and swung it at Bainshio's head. Bainshio hurriedly raised his dagger to block. The powerful strike cracked the dagger. After several exchanges, Bainshio's dagger broke in two. Elsewhere, a woman fixed her hair and left Tianxiong with her. The more she thought, the angrier she got. Suddenly, she let out a roar. The butcher was furious at Che Jinxiu's indecision. She wanted to destroy Taishan her own way. Meanwhile, Che Jinxiu was troubled. Suddenly, someone knocked at the door. It was the old man who ran the nearby store. Che Jinxiu respected him and invited him in. He had witnessed Tianxiong's entire journey and offered much help. When asked about the butcher, Che Jinxiu looked distressed. She said they had differences in opinion. The old man then offered his thoughts. Wang Yukai and the butcher were powerful figures, but he doubted the butcher's loyalty. An uncontrollable weapon could harm its master too. Che Jinxiu fell into deep thought. The old man left the office and made a call. He informed the other party that the butcher had left Che Jinxiu. He was talking to giant King Lu Bian. They agreed this was the perfect time to destroy Tianxiu. The old man waved out the window. Outside stood the mysterious imposters posing as Taishan. Today, Che Jinxiu would die under Taishan's attack. Only ruthless, decisive people can become legendary leaders. Che Jinxiu looked tough outside, but was hesitant inside. She only rose to power, thanks to the butcher's unconditional support. But they clashed over how to deal with Taishan. The butcher insisted on violent revenge. Che Jinxiu kept calling to stop her, but the calls were never answered. She had no choice but to go to Taishan in person. She found it all too suspicious. If Taishan was truly behind the attack, why would Bainshio reveal Section Chief Zhang's plan? She had to stop the butcher before things spiraled out of control. As soon as they left the base, they were blocked by a group, all masked, all wearing Taishan badges. They said Tianxiong had disrespected Taishan's boss. They came to teach Tianxiong a lesson. But since Che Jinxiu looked good, they'd spare her if she served the brothers well. These humiliating words enraged Tianxiong's men. One shouted, "Who do you think you are?" A long-haired man struck from behind. The betrayal shocked Che Jinxiu. The long-haired man demanded she surrender Tianxiong. Many of Tianxiong's men were subdued. Che Jinxiu's group fell into utter crisis. Meanwhile, Bainshio and Wang Yukai were still fighting. Wang Yukai still had the upper hand. Mocking Bainshio for loving his broken blade, Bainshio glanced at the broken dagger in hand. He sidestepped Wang Yotsai's attack, but saw the steel pipe suddenly drop. Bainshio became wary. Wang Yukai caught it with his left hand, changing his attack angle. Bainshio blocked it with his arm. This attack reminded him of the butcher. Wang Yukai was impressed he dodged that ghost-like move. Most past opponents fell to that trick, but he was still confident he could kill Bainshio, because he now held the complete upper hand. But Bainshio's face showed no sign of panic. He quietly sheathed his broken blade at his waist, then drew a new dagger. This was the weapon he used during his special ops days. From now on, he would fight in his own style. He slashed swiftly at Wang Yukai had just parried the blow when Bainshio attacked again. The sudden acceleration left Wang Yukai overwhelmed. He barely blocked the dagger strike, but was kneed by Bainshio. Before he could recover, Bainshio came at him again with the blade. Flashes of blades danced in the air. He found a gap and tried to counterattack, but was rammed hard by Bainshio. He staggered backward. Bainshio tripped him with a foot. Wang Yukai slammed hard onto the ground. Bainshio raised his blade to finish him. Just as the dagger was about to strike, Tai Yushu called out to stop him. He said Tianxiong was in the middle of a revolt. Wang Yukai was shocked by the news. He couldn't understand what was going on. Meanwhile, Che Jinxiu was in danger. Fortunately, her subordinates bravely shielded her. Che Jinxiu quickly ran toward the back. A severed hand lay on the balcony. The old man watched the chaos coldly. No matter what, Che Jinxiu must disappear today. Che Jinxiu was escorted to a temporarily safe place. She couldn't understand why she was betrayed. Right now, she only hoped the butcher was by her side. The butcher had already reached Taishan's left side. She showed no hesitation against Taishan's guards. Che Jinxiu hid inside, trying to shoot, calling out hoping she would return quickly. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It It was by Inshio. He wanted an answer from Chejinshio. Would she continue opposing him to the end? Or would she join him to break through this trap? He wanted her answer now. I like hearing you squeal like pigs in a slaughterhouse, so just call me the butcher. Half an hour earlier, the butcher had gone to Taishan for revenge, complaining all the way about Chejinshio's indecisiveness. 10 years ago, H City's top power, Ihi, had collapsed. Now all forces were eyeing a piece of the pie, including North Korea's Wei Zhonghua, Grey Market Kwachanjun, and Black Dragon's Wang Yukai. Wang Yukai proposed an alliance of the three forces to form a new organization. But who would be the leader was the problem. Wang Yukai proposed again, that Yuan Qianxiong's daughter lead it. The others would support her and share profits. To put it bluntly, Chejinshio was just a puppet. Now Guachanjuan's ambition grew larger. He sent men disguised as Taishan to attack Tianxiong and spark conflict, planning to kill Chejinshio while the butcher was away. He didn't expect Bai Inshio to interfere at the last moment. Now he demanded Chejinshio make a clear stand. Seeing the truth, she hesitated no more. But she was shocked to see bodies in the hallway. She was stunned, but the three in front of her were still calm and relaxed. She couldn't think about it now. What mattered most was calling the butcher to stop her. But a wounded man nearby said it was useless. A dog without its master won't live long. Chejinshio was left speechless by that. Meanwhile, the butcher was still fuming. Her men dared not provoke her, not even a frown. The butcher scolded them for crowding her. How long until we get to Taishan? The men nervously replied that the convoy was still moving. The driver tried to calm her down, but the butcher quickly noticed something wrong. The vehicle had... The men suddenly changed attitude and grabbed her arms. The man in the passenger seat punched her in the face. I've wanted to beat up your arrogant face for so long. But the butcher laughed. You better hold me tight, or you're all dead. The driver told her not to waste strength, but the butcher kicked him in the face from behind. The car went out of control. The bald man tried to run. The unbound butcher burst out in strength. Two of the men smashed their heads together. The car crashed due to the chaos. The cars behind all came to a stop. A foot kicked open the car door. He jumped out of the vehicle. The butcher spat on the ground. Almost got taken down in the gutter. People from the following cars got out one after another. They stood in front of him with weapons. One of them shouted, "It's just a bitch. No need to be afraid." Then he led the charge, but got a boot to the face from the butcher. Another man swung an axe at him. The butcher turned and slashed at him. His blade got deeply stuck in the skull. Another tried to stab him during the chaos. The butcher kicked him away, blocking the attack, then swung his blade down hard. An arm flew off from the man's body. Before he could even scream, he was slashed dozens of times. The butcher grabbed another man's arm and severed it with one swing. The others were scared out of their wits. Facing the raised blade, the runners trembled in fear, witnessing such a bloody scene. The remaining men didn't dare step forward. Even with superior numbers, their will to fight was gone. They planned to escape by car, but a blade fell from the sky, jamming the door. The man broke into a cold sweat in fear. Then came a voice like from hell. Guess why they call me the butcher? Anyone who's been in the underworld knows. The safest way is stay in the shadows and groom a figurehead. Wang Yukai spent 10 years building this up to create the Tianxiong of today. But the one-armed old man wanted to claim all the credit. If Taesan hadn't intervened, Tianxiong would already be in the old man's pocket. This made Wang Yotsai's expression grow dark. To save his life, the old man revealed the mastermind. It was the South Korean government. He pleaded for mercy, citing their years of friendship. Spare me this once. Wang Yukai helped him up without a word, then suddenly crushed the man's fingers with force. That's still no excuse for betraying me. He then slowly picked up some mud from the ground. As long as that man still lives, Tianxiong will never fall easily. The old man begged for mercy in a panic, but Wang Yukai gave him no chance to speak again. Tianxiong can only lose to him. A week later, inside Tianxiong's base, Anhua was feeling frustrated about the situation. Even though Taesan had helped Tianxiong, these guys still looked like they might stab them any second. Kim Guanwong said Tianxiong was in total chaos right now. They didn't even know who the enemy was anymore. In the room, Bai Inshio and Wang Yukai sat on opposite sides. Wang Yukai explained their boss had urgent matters, and he was now authorized to speak for Tianxiong. But the truth was, Chejinshio had been placed under house arrest by him. Bai Inshio, however, wasn't surprised. He outright stated that Wang Yukai was the real boss behind the scenes. Wang Yukai didn't deny it either, and admitted he preferred dealing with smart people. Then came the purpose of this negotiation. He hoped Tianxiong could work with Taesan to counter the South Korean government's anti-crime campaign. Bai Inshio gave no clear answer. Instead, he remarked that he was almost killed by him before. Wang Yukai laughed it off, told him not to be so petty. Suddenly, the sky broke into a sharp downpour. A man suddenly appeared in the courtyard. It was the butcher, soaked in blood from head to toe. One of the subordinates explained Bai Inshio and Wang Yukai were talking inside. The butcher didn't stop walking but was blocked by someone. Kim Guanwon told him entry was forbidden. The butcher immediately drew his weapon. This isn't a place for you to act tough. Kim Guanwoo reminded him that Tae-san came in good faith today, but the butcher didn't care one bit about his words. Tension flared instantly between both sides. A violent clash seemed unavoidable. Anhao suddenly spoke up and let him in, then mocked the butcher, saying all he knew was yelling like a fool. Enraged, the butcher charged at him. A dagger sliced toward Anhao's face. He warned that one more word and he'd cut out his tongue. Anhao remained calm and unmoved, because his own dagger was already against the butcher's stomach. Just as the butcher was about to explode, Wang Yukai and Bai Inshio walked out side by side. The butcher gritted his teeth, vowing not to spare Anhao next time. Wang Yukai asked what had happened, but the butcher didn't answer him. At that moment, Bai Inshio led everyone away. Only then did the butcher tell him that Choi Jinshio had gone missing. On the way back to Taisana, Anhao couldn't understand why they were helping such ungrateful bastards. Bai Inshio said it was to uncover the mastermind behind everything. Now at least they knew the South Korean government was behind them too, and that Choi Jinshio was nothing more than their puppet. Anhao said that was a bit too blunt to say in front of the man himself. Choi Jinshio suddenly appeared in the car. Turns out while Bai Inshio and Wang Yukai were negotiating, he had secretly arranged for Iron Right Hand to rescue Choi Jinshio. Bai Inshio welcomed him to join Tae-sen. Meanwhile, inside Tianxiong's base, Wang Yukai was raging mad. At the scene, what was left behind? The chocolate pie wrapper made him realize it was the boy beside Bai Inshio who did it. Tae-sen really went too far this time. This girl spent Qixi Festival in fear, because a psycho had chased her all the way to campus. And the one who blocked her was also a girl. She even threatened, if you keep hiding, you're dead. The nearby students were so scared they wanted to call the police. But the girl told them to leave first. The classmate insisted she call if anything happened. That girl was Choi Jinshio 10 years ago. She later became the leader of Tianxiong, a puppet installed by the Black Dragon Gang. And the butcher was assigned both to monitor and protect her. If she got kidnapped by other gangs, losing an arm or a leg would be common. Choi Jinshio was frightened by that statement. She said she'd obey from now on. From then on, the gears of fate began to turn. Time shifts back to the present. The butcher was summoned to Wang Yotsai's office. He was told that Choi Jinshio had been kidnapped by Tae-san's people, so they could gain the upper hand in negotiations. If that's the case, then the Black Dragon Gang needs to step out of the shadows. The most important thing is Tianxiong. The rest doesn't matter. If things really become irreparable, then Choi Jinshio must be made to serve her purpose. The butcher didn't understand what Wang Yukai meant. The driver reminded them they had arrived at Tae-san. The butcher ordered to go straight to the underground parking. They planned to destroy Tae-san from below. 4 or 5 vehicles pulled into the parking lot just in time. A group of armed people stormed out. A burst of light shone on the butcher, drawing all attention. Bai Inshio and the Taishan group had already been waiting. The butcher realized it was an ambush. She cursed furiously in Chinese slang and charged at Bai Inshio, while demanding to know where Choi Jinshio was. Bai Inshio threw her a pair of sunglasses. She immediately recognized them as Choi Jinshio's. Bai Inshio warned her not to act impulsively. Otherwise, Choi Jinshio's safety couldn't be guaranteed. Though furious, the butcher had no choice. She then ordered her subordinates to drop their weapons, and even threw away the weapon she had carried for years. Only then did Bai Inshio smirk with satisfaction. She told her to come along. At that moment, Choi Jinshio was staring blankly out the window. Bai Inshio said an old acquaintance wanted to see her. Then the butcher walked. As soon as she saw Choi Jinshio, she scolded her for being careless and for getting kidnapped by the Taishan group. But Choi Jinshio said no one kidnapped her. She came to Taishan willingly. The butcher was confused by this. She said she had already taken care of the traitors. No one would hurt Choi Jinshio again. But Choi Jinshio replied that she didn't know who to trust. She couldn't even tell if the butcher came to kill her. The butcher was stunned by her words, then suddenly grabbed Choi Jinshio by the neck. Then go ahead and die. Then the Black Dragon Gang would control Tianxiong and dominate the South Korean underworld. Though Xiong tried to step forward, Bai Inshio stopped him. Suddenly, the butcher let go and hugged Choi Jinshio tightly. Have you forgotten who I am? As long as I'm here, I can protect you, no matter who the enemy is, because I'm the butcher of Tianxiong, and you're Tianxiong's true leader. Meanwhile, Wang Yukai was repeatedly calling the butcher, but couldn't get through and slammed his phone on the table in anger. Sitting next to him was none other than Liu Bian of the Giant Wolf Gang, and another man, Zhang's section chief, who hadn't shown up in a long time. Wang Yukai said Tianxiong was recently attacked by Tae-san, and their boss had been kidnapped. He asked if they were willing to cooperate. Zhang's section chief stood up smiling, and said he would fully support an assault on Tae-san. But before that, he wanted to share some intel about the Tae-san twins.